of the 48 victims who died in the nightclub fire in Dublin in 1981. Last week, an inquest found they had been unlawfully killed. Minister Michael McGrath says the government will take action.
There haven't been any discussions at this point in terms of a possible redress scheme, but I do believe that one is appropriate. I do believe that we need to back up the words of apology with practical support, including through any counselling that is required, but also through a redress scheme.
The North's Economy Minister has expressed his support to have the Wild Atlantic Way extended into Derry. SDLP leader Colm Eastwood wrote to Economy Minister Conor Murphy on the back of a recent report which revealed the tourism initiative generates more than €3 billion per year in revenue. Keisha Conley has more.
Colm Eastwood, in his letter to Minister Murphy, requested an assessment of the potential benefit of extending the Wild Atlantic Way from Donegal through Derry and onto the Causeway coast, following the allocation of £6.5 million from the Shared Island Unity in 2022 to link the two brands. The Foyle MP says there is a huge opportunity to extend and expand the Wild Atlantic Way from Donegal through to the centre of Derry and onto the Causeway coast. He believes that deeper integration will deliver better outcomes for businesses and communities in the northwest.
An official portrait has been unveiled at Stormont to mark a Donegal-born Lord's service as Speaker of the Northern Ireland Assembly. Lord William Hay was born in Milford before moving with his family to Derry. During his political career, he held roles as a DUP councillor and Foyle MLA and was appointed to the House of Lords in 2014. Lord Hay served as Speaker of the NI Assembly for almost 7.5 years. Foyle MLA Gary Middleton says it was an honour to attend the unveiling of the portrait of his colleague yesterday and that it was a special occasion. Finally, for weather now, another dry day for most with a mix of sunshine and cloud. While a few light showers will develop, they will be isolated with highest temperatures of 11 to 13 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
We've got gifts for good times at Curry's. Get ready for big days out with our latest deals on gaming, tablets and SIM-free phones. Gift your way from our amazing range of health and beauty. With top brands like Dyson and Shark, you're sure to make someone's day. Shop in-store or online at currys.ie.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And a very good morning to you. This is the 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. Donal Kavanagh with you until 12 noon today. We have a lot to cover on the programme this morning, but as always, the centre of this show and the most important part of this show is your views, your perspectives and your take on the issues of the day. What's important to you? Let us know. You can call us on 074 9120 5000, 0035 374 9120 5000 if you're outside of the dialing area. You can contact us via text or WhatsApp on 086 60 25000. We're on social media, of course, at Highland Radio on X, Highland Hub on Facebook. You can watch the show unfold actually on our Facebook pages or our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland, and you can see the Zoom calls, the studio guests and so on and so forth as they appear on the programme over the course of the morning. You can also email us, of course, comments at highlandradio.com. We'll begin with a look at the papers, and as it's a Wednesday, the Finn Valley Voice is out this morning, and the main story there, Finn Harp's proposed new ownership model. Finn Harp's proposing to move to a new ownership model as part of a plan to plug a €1.5 million funding shortfall for the club's new stadium. The details are to be presented to shareholders of the Finn Harp's Cooperative Society at the Villarose Hotel in Ballybofey on April 28th at 7. That's Sunday next at 7 p.m. Irish Independent this morning, and its main photograph is one of Lisa Lawler, who lost both her parents in the Stardust tragedy, with a rose for each victim. She's there with 48 roses. The headline above the picture there, Unfinished Stories became the defining story of your lives. Words from Simon Harris, the Taoiseach, who spoke for about 25 minutes in the Dáil yesterday and offered a formal state apology to the families of the 48 victims of the Stardust tragedy, and that's pretty much the main story across all of the papers. The main headline on the front of the Irish Independent this morning, victims of domestic abuse being forced into homelessness. Domestic violence victims are being forced either into homelessness or back into abusive relationships because the housing crisis is leaving women and children who flee with simply nowhere to go. Domestic abuse refuges across Ireland have reported cases where victims were forced to stay in refuges for over a year because of a lack of affordable accommodation. That's the main story on the Irish Independent this morning, looking at the front page of the Irish Times main banner, "We failed you when you needed us the most." And then underneath, there's an interesting story from Jack Horgan-Jones and Harry McGee. More than 80% of asylum seekers coming from north, more than 80% of those coming into Ireland are coming from the UK over the land border with Northern Ireland, according to the Justice Minister. She told the Oireachtas Justice Committee, which held a hearing on the government's decision to opt into the EU-wide Migration and Asylum Pact, that the numbers believed to be coming over the border had climbed in recent months. The Minister is putting it at 80%. She was answering questions from Fianna Fáil Senator Robbie Gallagher, Monaghan based, but of course born in Donegal. Also, President Higgins had mild stroke during recent health episode. That story on the news this morning as well. President Higgins has confirmed he had a stroke during the health scare that led to his hospitalisation during the first week in March. He was speaking to the Irish Times in Manchester, where he yesterday received an honorary doctorate. Front of the Irish Daily Mail this morning, not in control of immigration. Most voters don't believe the government is on top of the crisis, according to a poll. Almost 2/3 of the public believe the government is not in control of the crisis. An exclusive poll for the Irish Daily Mail has found, it's carried out by Amoric Research on behalf of DMG Media. It revealed 8 in 10 people believe the number of immigrants arriving is too high, compared to 2% who said it was too low. 61% of people believe the government isn't taking their concerns on the issue into account. 64% agreed that they worried that the government was not in control of the immigration issue. Moving to the red tops this morning, and fair to say all of the red tops, their front pages and the first couple of pages in each of them is taken up with the Stardust apology in the Dáil yesterday. Looking on the inside of some of them, TV biker Dave left €1.6 million for his wife. Telly chef Dave Myers left a €1.6 million windfall for his wife, with her being named the sole shareholder of his firm after his death. Papers filed last month confirmed the ending of the Hairy Biker's star as a person with significant control of Sharp Letter Limited. His wife's been given full control of the company. RTE brings back panel gig. Top stars in running for teleseries. RTE are planning a big new panel show with top stars vying for the job of host. Brendan O'Connor, Joanne McNally and Deirdre O'Kane could all be in the running. Bosses revealed they're looking for a skilled comedic anchor to host the midweek Mock the Week style show for RTE1 television. They say it'll be a comedy panel show that delivers sharp humour and the best comedic talent to Irish audiences. That would be a very interesting one if and when it comes to pass. Brendan O'Connor, Deirdre O'Kane, Joanne McNally. Of that threesome, I'd have to say I'd be leaning toward Deirdre O'Kane personally. But it's really a matter of taste, I suppose. The Irish Daily Mirror this morning, warnings as 1 in 4 admit to going on booze binges. Drink awareness campaigners warned of concerning trends amid new figures which show 60% of adults drink weekly and a quarter regularly binge. Some 26% admitted to regularly binge drinking in a survey, prompting health warnings due to alcohol abuse. Links between mental well-being and alcohol consumption were also highlighted in the research from the awareness charity Drink Aware. That's according to the Irish Daily Mirror. And finally, the Irish Daily Star. Tug-of-war on boycott. And this is an issue I think that's going to become more and more prevalent over the coming weeks. We're coming really close now to Eurovision, and over 400 Irish artists have signed an open letter urging Eurovision entry Bambi Tug to boycott the contest due to Israel's participation. A total of 407 high-profile musicians, artists, dancers, writers and poets, including Derry Girls actress Siobhan McSweeney, singer and Senator Francis Black and Erica Cody, one of the artists that Bambi beat in this year's Eurosong. They're asking Bambi to heed the call from Palestinians to boycott the competition in the letter that was released on Monday on the Ireland-Palestine Solidarity Campaign's website. So it's an interesting question. Should Bambi Tug go to Eurovision? Should Bambi Tug make a stand and stay away? I suppose from their point of view, they're looking at this as potentially a huge mark on their career, as a huge honour to represent the country, and they personally, I'm sure, want to do it. On the other hand, I've no doubt that they're finding themselves in a moral quandary, as it were, because, like anybody else, I've no doubt Bambitog has concerns about Palestine and the situation there, and has empathy for people, and it must be a difficult quandary to be in. So what will Bambitog do? And that's going to become, I think, an even more live issue over the course of the coming weeks. Eurovision, it's usually mid-May. Is it 2-3 weeks at this stage? It's usually second, third week of May, there or thereabouts. Can't quite remember. I don't know what the day Eurovision is actually. If anyone knows, do let me know. But it's going to be fairly soon of that, I am pretty sure. That's the way it's looking on the papers. As I said, if you want to comment on any of those issues or any issues that are close to your own heart at the moment, you can do so. 086 60 25,000 for your text or WhatsApp messages. You can call us 074 91 25,000. Caroline producing and taking your calls. Shannon taking calls as well this morning. Or you can use our various social media outlets, or do so if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. You can do it through the comments there. It's approaching 30 minutes past 9. We're going to take a short break. Back after these with the first of today's guests.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Kelly's Centra and Diner, Mountaintop Letterkenny, winner of Best Family Dining at the Highland Radio Hospitality Awards.
The 9 till Noon Show with Blue Poppy Dentistry and Orthodontics, located on Pierce Road, Letterkenny and just off the Diamond, Donegal town. Payment plans available for all major treatments. See bluepoppydental.com.
The annual Easy Living Furniture Roadshow sale ends this Sunday. This is your last chance to save big, as absolutely everything is reduced across sofas, dining, bedroom and accessories. We've got everything you need to create the perfect living space with affordable prices and unbeatable quality. And with interest-free finance available, now really is the time to visit Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, or online at easylivingfurniture.co.uk.
When you put off having an eye test, you're not just putting off making an appointment, coming to Specsavers, buying a new pair of glasses. No, what you're actually putting off is all those important little things, like, seeing things, telling the difference between a tree and your wife, watching the TV, not the microwave, your children not being a bit blurred around the edges. The list goes on. Eye tests and a free pair of glasses from the €69 range are free at Specsavers with PRSI or medical card. You're better off not putting it off at Specsavers. Conditions apply, subject to eligibility.
Watson Hire's massive spring sale day takes place this Friday the 26th with great price reductions and big name demos. Great savings on clothing from Port West, Snickers, Black Ladder and more. Also reductions on power tools, hand tools, garden equipment, paint and much more, with loads of prizes and giveaways on the day. Big names like Garden Care, Bosch, Makita, Milwaukee and Draper will be there with new products and special offers. That's all this Friday the 26th of April at Watson Hire, Lisnenan, Letterkenny. Check Watson Hire socials for more details.
Recreational drugs can give you a different buzz, but they can all impair your driving. Some drugs can slow down your reactions, leaving you prone to error.
Other drugs can make you more aggressive. And overconfident behind the wheel. So you make rash judgments, drive too fast and take dangerous risks.
Drug driving can endanger you, your passengers and other road users. Never ever drive under the influence of drugs. A message from the Road Safety Authority. Visit rsa.ie.
Housebroad's Euro for Pound sale is back exclusively at our Strabane store. We have hundreds of sofas, dining and bedroom furniture in stock and ready for immediate delivery. Unbelievable price drops. There's reclining sofas from £249. Sale now on. Visit our flagship store at Abercorn Square, Strabane. But hurry, this sale won't be around for long.
This is the 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio, and we're going to talk European elections because we are joined in studio this morning by one of our sitting MEPs in the Midlands North West constituency, Fine Gael's Maria Walsh, MEP. Maria, good morning, you're welcome.
Good morning, thanks very much for having me on.
It is a pleasure. In terms of the time you've had in Europe, it was 5 years ago that you went out on the campaign trail. How have you found the intervening 5 years? What have you learned and what's changed?
Yeah, it's hard to imagine 5 years has passed, and over those 5 years, I think if I stood in front of you or Greg in that first interview, you know, I had a set plan in terms of making mental health, putting mental health on the political agenda, apprenticeships and traineeships for young people, because I had come through that myself, the West of Ireland voice and having that strong voice, and there's elements of that I'm really proud to have delivered on, but also within the context, or if you look at the round, as they say in Brussels, of all the different challenges that we faced. I mean, I don't think anybody could ever write that a worldwide pandemic would stop us in our tracks 6 months in. We were the first democratic institution to go online, so that allowed us 705 MEPs right across the member states to do our work online in terms of voting on very much needed EU funding to get down into member states and local levels around COVID, in particular businesses that were experiencing and frontline staff, they're experiencing that harshness of, and which we are still coming out of. The fact that there is war in the continent, and there's multiple wars going on worldwide that are impacting, obviously, our citizens and those listening here and Highland Radio, as well as those right across the member states. But if you look at the aggression of Russia into Ukraine, you know, I work within the EPP group. That's where Fine Gael sits, and we have colleagues who are petrified that if the line is broken from Ukraine into the EU in terms of Lithuania, I think of Latvia, you know, that's a terrible consequence. And while I just, in my eyes, it reaffirmed these past 5 years how important our relationship is with Europe. Now, there's multiple challenges that we still need to continue to work on. Some historical legacy when I'm out with councillors and candidates in the likes of Killybegs in terms of fishing quota, in terms of the redesign and redevelopment of the Common Agricultural Policy, because it's not fit for purpose as it stands for our farmers. But when you look at even our 50 years relationship, just over 50, you know, I remember a year or two ago being down in the European Direct Library down the road here in Letterkenny, and talking about the marriage bar and the removal of the marriage bar for women who, when we joined in 1973 as a country, saw this piece of legislation that if a woman was getting married, she must leave her full-time job, part-time job in both the public and private sector, and care to the home. Honourable role, can't take that. But the issue I always had with that is the choice. Women didn't have that choice. When we joined in 73, that had to be removed. And when you look at the 50 years where we're going in terms of equal pay, in terms of more and more women stepping forward in private equity and funding, yes, we still do have challenges, all that I shared there, but we are a better and stronger country because of our relationship. So that for me, to answer your question in a long-winded way, there's so many aspects of EU that impacts us every day. 70% of legislation that my colleagues and I work on, both with this mandate and tweak those from previous mandates, 70% of that impacts this country. So it is incredibly important that we have that close relationship with the EU.
The Maria Walsh that's now on the campaign trail for election 2024 is a very different Maria Walsh that was on the campaign trail in 2019. And one of the major changes is going to be the public perception. Yeah. Because way back then, and let's be blunt, back then you were the celebrity candidate, if I can put that in inverted commas, Rose of
retired
Tralee.
Rose of Tralee.
The retired Rose of Tralee, your own personal life and your own personal choices. And, you know, and they were the focus, and that one was being spoken about. What's now going to be spoken about is your performance over 5 years, your track record. Is it easier to do it now because you can point to a track record, or was it easier? Especially, and let's be honest, now probably the most high profile celebrity candidate in the race now at this point in time is your running mate, Nina Carberry.
Nina Carberry, and it's fantastic. I just think it goes to show you, you know, 5 years ago when I put my hand up to get involved in politics, and to all of that, you know, I was called the parachute candidate in quite a negative connotation. Equally, I went through that in 2014 as the Rose of Tralee, when people were saying, well, lovely ladies with, everybody knows that analogy from Father Ted. I'm really proud of the track record that I've had, given all that I've just shared in terms of the complications that we experienced as a European Union and as a country. There's elements that I've worked worked on that I'm really proud to move that needle a little bit closer to where I feel it needs, making mental health a very much political conversation, not having yet delivered an EU mental health strategy, which I hope if re-elected that's going to be my main focus, and that will ensure that across the 27 member states we have a very clear plan, like we did with COVID, for health ministers to deliver as close to, if not on, the 10% budget set aside for mental health supports. And there's multiple other areas and angles within the mental health field that we need to tackle. To your question, I've grown a lot these 5 years. My political acumen has been raised. I'm really excited to have this ticket with Nina Carberry. 5 years ago, I joined our first Vice President, now Commissioner Mairead McGuinness, and a lot of people weren't giving me a fair punt to say, the fact that, I'm the parachute candidate, I didn't have the experience. But I would hope to you and your listeners that I've proven myself, as I know Nina Carberry will do the same. I mean, she comes from a fantastic, hardworking ethic like I did 5 years ago. So I think it just goes to show you people who grow up in politics are in politics, but equally myself and Nina, who didn't grow up in politics, are putting our hand up to get involved in it, to make our lived experience feel in policy, which is incredibly important, because sometimes there is a disconnect to Europe. I mean, I've been on the show several times chatting to you and Greg to talk about, well, it's so far away, it's so disconnected, it's so disjointed. But when you have people like myself and Nina stepping in, then you know that, well, I would hope people listening will know that we're here, we're listening, we're hardworking, we're gritty, and we're willing to roll our sleeves up, and to my case, have that proven track record of these past 5 years.
At the moment, in terms of national politics, it seems a perfunctory look at social media would suggest that Fine Gael are being blamed for all the country's ills at the moment. Are the letters FG on your campaign posters at this point a help or a hindrance?
Oh no, they're certainly help. I mean, we've an incredibly strong ticket, and not just at an EU level, but yesterday I was out with Councillor Barry Sweeney, our new election candidate in Kellybegs, Manus Boyle, last night with Joseph Malloy in Gweedore, and covering the Glenties area. And when you look at those people, many of them are already doing the job of a councillor, and we're doing it under the remit of Fine Gael, but most importantly, we're doing it because we believe in community service. And Fine Gael has been in government for several years. There is challenges in terms of healthcare and housing, and no one disputes that. But we need people in politics to run for people in a government or in a party that want to serve people. I think it's very easy, taken back in that Teddy Roosevelt quote that Brene Brown made quite popular recently. There's a couple of choices when you're in politics, I believe, and this is my lived experience. You could either be in the nosebleeds, pointing out, saying they should have done this should have happened, I would do this differently, or you get down into the Coliseum and really challenging people, and that's within the party as well as outside, and showing up to make that difference. And for me, Fine Gael is that, along with the colleagues that I just mentioned that I've been out with. Later on today I'm out with Jimmy Kavanagh, so we've a really strong ticket right across the country and right across these communities. As
well as obviously as the Fine Gael affiliation, once you're in the Parliament buildings in Brussels and Strasbourg, it becomes the EPP. And a lot of people don't necessarily understand the EPP, understand how the system works. So very briefly, give us an outline of what the EPP is, and when you're in Brussels, what's foremost on your mind? Are you Fine Gael first and foremost, or are you EPP first and foremost?
Well, to answer that, I represent the Midlands Northwest, so now 15 counties. For those listening, that goes from Galway to Donegal, Mayo across to Louth. We've moved from 4 seats to 5 seats. We are probably one of the biggest, most diverse constituencies in the EU. When you think half of Ireland, bar obviously Northern Ireland, very diverse, urban, rural, extreme urban, you name it, we have it. To answer your question, when it comes to us stepping into the EPP group or European Parliament, you always do that with the vision that you have for your community. That's first and foremost. I'm a Fine Gael MEP who sits in the EPP group. The EPP group we were one of the founding members of it. It's a farming party. It's a Christian Democrat party. It is a broad church. So there's those colleagues that I work on very closely with women's rights in terms of access to funding. When I think of my Swedish colleagues, there's also those that we work very closely with in our common agricultural policy or our farming voice. Not everybody agrees with what we do, and we've, as a delegation, with our head of delegation, Sean Kelly, have a very strong, proven track record of standing strong when we need to in terms of the best interest for Ireland. And I think of the protection of the tax base and the basis of that. Many of our colleagues wouldn't agree with that, but that's where the European Union, and that's where sometimes people forget, the European Union is built on consensus and negotiation, compromise, and sadly you do not get everything that you wish. The 10 things you're on your agenda list, you might not always be able to get them, but you're working towards them. And for me, working within the EPP group, or I think working within Fine Gael, is just as important, if not as important, as I work right across the political house. What is significant about the EPP group is we are the largest party, set to be returned as the largest party. Therefore, things like our leader in the president's role, Roberta Metsola, when I think of even the work of Ursula von der Leyen, when I think of the fact that we as an EPP group have about, I think at this point, 10, if not 12 prime ministers right across the EU. We have multiple senior roles at different committee levels, and we get our punt at legislation, which is why we're there. We write legislation, we work on legislation for people. So when you work within that largest party, then you get the best of the breast, and you're able to work towards that. Smaller groupings, and I think at the left, where we have about 25% of our MEPs there, often don't get put their hands up and get involved in the legislation because they're the smallest group. In many cases, both the extreme left and the extreme right, in all the legislation that I've worked on, when I think of equal pay for equal work for women's rights, when I think of digital work around mental health, when I think of apprenticeship and traineeships, sadly, representatives, MEPs who've been assigned from the left and right to work on those don't even show up. So it just goes to show you that centre voice, that progressive voice, is incredibly important. Hence the reason why, from my side, the EPP group is best for us and best, again, in my eyes, for serving the people. One
of the major problems, obviously, in Donegal in recent years has been defective blocks, and will continue to be for the years to come. There was a very important report produced by the European Parliament and a decision taken. When people started drilling down into the decisions taken before that report was published and everything was finalised following the delegation that came to Donegal, Mayo and other counties last year, there was question marks over some of the amendments that were proposed, and some of those amendments proposed by the EPP in terms of whether or not they were going to be favourable to Donegal. Looking at where it stands now with regards to defective blocks in the European Parliament, are you satisfied that the right decisions were made by the Parliament, and that what the Parliament has done can make a difference and can have a positive impact on what's happening locally?
Yeah, just to those listening. So there, from a technical side, there was two amendments. One that I was glad didn't pass. Another that I'm angered. Let me phrase that differently because I'm even confusing myself. So we had an Amendment 11 which voted directly before the EPP involving language around force majeure. And force majeure, in my eyes, should have never even been near anything to do with this report around defective blocks. For those listening, it means it's an act of God, which this wasn't the case. Yeah. I've been very, very clear. I support 100% redress. I've been working towards that. Language like that, submitted by an EPP colleague of mine, is not okay, and I worked really hard to have that removed. When that couldn't be removed, then I worked right across the political house to make sure other political allies of mine in groups like the Social Democrats, in Renew, where Fianna Fáil sits, in the Greens, voted against, so that would never make, and even within my own party, some I won, some I didn't. That being said, there was another amendment which was voted against around 100% redress. And this is where it gets frustrating, because it was 12 for, 12 against and 1 minus, and it needed the majority. However, within the language of the report, there was a number of key things from the mission. I didn't personally put in amendments into the final recommendations of that report, because the 6 that were proposed for me fit what the Micro Redress Group and other groups had asked for. And I think we need to do exactly what they're telling us we need to do. I think for long enough people have been telling them stuff, and they need support, not to be told and talked down to. So a number of things like the cost of a new foundation included, the fact that the inner leaf is not even in this redress is outrageous, and that was included. Take better account for financial burden of all costs that include rental costs, provisional accommodation, that would all be fit in. Having better, if not the most significant point, market surveillance. So this doesn't happen again, but equally it stops now. Having better resources when we talk about staffing in the likes of the county councils, not just in Donegal, but in Mayo and other areas. And that 100% redress in terms of financial supports in all aspects. So for me, that is where we're at. I'm proud of where the report sits. I delivered that to the Minister for Housing. I delivered that to the previous Taoiseach, Leo Varadkar, and the new Taoiseach, Simon Harris. I also sent it to Donegal County Council, and I will continue to act and speak on that. I mentioned it, I said it very strongly in my convention speech, being put on the ticket with Nina Carberry, as well as the Ardèche, where I had speaking time and I spoke before thousands of people. Again, the Taoiseach was in that room. So for me, I'm very, very strong on that, and that's not rolling back, and we need to see change yesterday, and right now it's certainly too slow.
Do you believe that that report will be taken on board by Simon Harris, by other ministers and by other coalition partners? Because the fear locally is going to be, it's a great report, it says the right things, and it's going to sit on the shelf somewhere. And I know sitting on the shelf is one of the biggest cliches in politics, and it's a cliche because it's true a lot of the time.
Well, I think to the point, different political priorities step in, but this has been... families, and I meet some families with John McGuinness later on today who are experiencing this day in, day out. So putting something on the shelf, to your point, is not good enough anymore. It wasn't good enough in 2011 when this really came on stream. It's not good enough now. For me, I just hope listeners know I will continue to advocate at every opportunity that I have to speak with leaders like Simon Harris. This will be brought forward, and for my eyes, it's as important today as it will be over this campaign, as it will be throughout, until families see that 100% redress.
Human trafficking is an issue that you've taken a keen interest in, and there's been an important discussion in the Parliament in recent days. Where are we in terms of what needs to be done to take this issue seriously and tackle it head on? Yeah,
and I'm so grateful you allowed me to talk about this, because right now we've about 3,000 or 4,000 people being trafficked in and out of the country. That's what's being reported on by NGOs. Ruhama is a phenomenal organisation, as well as MECPATS, that do great work around advocating to end human trafficking. And when we think of human trafficking, sometimes we think of sexual exploitation, but it's also drug cartels that are grooming young children to sell of drugs. It's also labour exploitation. When you have people moving from different countries in the EU, often the eastern part, when they're moving to countries like our own, who are quite rich in the sense of our minimum wage and the standards of care within that. But you have some people that are not living up to that expectation and law. So it's a number of different avenues under human trafficking. Where this does is highlight the countries that are not doing it well, Ireland included. The movement of people needs to stop. Persecution, not towards the person being trafficked, but the person that is trafficking, is where this revision has come from. Stopping people from doing this in the first place. There's elements of exploitation of surrogacy and exploitation within marriage is also referenced, because we have some countries outside the EU and inside the EU that uses surrogacy as a way to exploit women in particular. That is included in, and ultimately a monitoring body driven by the Commission, signed up for by the Council, pushed by our Parliament, to make sure that countries are reporting and that we have a very even keel when it looks at human trafficking, because it needs to stop. It's happening in this country. It is, for listeners, it is one of the most lucrative industries, but equally the silent one. And working with Gardaí, training Gardaí to step into this role of monitoring this, ending this, and also when I mentioned MECPATS earlier, they're doing phenomenal work at training hospitality staff, because often we know women and predominantly young girls being trafficked are coming in and out of our hotel chains. So for that's important work, but they can't see a reduction in their funding. We need to see an increase of it. So ultimately, as an EU player, that we're doing our part to end human trafficking.
Obviously, the situation in Gaza is very much on the agenda at the moment, and some in this country believing the EU isn't doing enough to support Gaza and to support Palestine. Where do you personally, and a listener is asking this, where do you stand on what's happening in Gaza at the moment, and do you regard what's happening in Gaza as genocide?
Absolutely. And I said that very clearly in all my statements. I also think the likes of Hamas need to be held accountable for the atrocities they committed on October 7th, but the retaliation by Israel government, Netanyahu in particular, is in my eyes beyond the act of retaliation, and now has very much shifted in these past weeks and months into genocide. For me, I've been very clear along with our party, Fine Gael, that we need a two-state solution. We need an immediate and permanent ceasefire, and we need to see humanitarian aid, medical aid, food, therapy, you name it, and people living within Gaza need to see it, and we need to see it now. And as an American born, it's also really important for me to stress the on the fence maneuver that the US are doing right now is exceptionally disappointing, because if we're silent in this, we're complicit to it. And for me, that's where I'm really proud of the fact that our previous Taoiseach and now current Taoiseach Simon Harris has been exceptionally strong on this. We need to see a review of the EU-Israel trade agreement, because within that language is around humanitarian rights and the protection of it, and we know Israel is not adhering to that. So everything we can do to create and stop and have a permanent ceasefire, create a two-state solution, recognise the state of Palestine, and then move forward is incredibly important.
You were saying there that the US are sitting on the fence. I mean, there's an argument that the EU is sitting on the fence as well. And you just remember the review of that EU-Israel agreement. I mean, that was raised with Ursula von der Leyen and others in recent days. And to say the least, they're prevaricating on it. There's certainly no commitment to that review.
I mean, when you look at the round, our president of the Commission has done exceptional work in various areas. I mean, the response to COVID, response to the aggression towards Ukraine. It is disappointing that we haven't seen a very strong leadership role within this. I think that is moving though, and you see even in the last resolutions that we have passed in the EU Parliament. And what I mean by resolutions, for those listening, that is sadly no funding or no policy attached, but it sets a very clear standard and voice and tone where we sit as a Parliament on often an international issue like this. And for us, we've seen that dial moved where colleagues right across the political house are understanding that we are watching genocide, and we're watching it through our screens. We're hearing reports coming through on our television screens, on our newspapers, and it needs to stop, and you're seeing that, and we need that bravery, we need that courageous leadership to have that coming from, to your point, Ursula von der Leyen and other EU ministers and prime ministers in particular that are not supporting our call in a two-state solution and a permanent ceasefire.
But in terms of the current discussion, it seems that there's almost more concern within the EU Commission and within the presidency and at the top level. There seems to be more concern about what Russia might do in the late spring, early summer than there is about what happened in Gaza last night and the night before and the night before, and sadly what's going to happen tonight, tomorrow night and the night after. There seems to be more concern about the potential for a Russian advance in Ukraine than there is about what's happening in Gaza, and it seems to be that's far away, whereas Ukraine poses a threat to us, and it's easy to cast Russia as the big bad boogeyman, but Israel is being treated in a completely different way.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue that. I think to also put to people listening, if we have a breakage of Russia further into Ukraine, into the EU, we're in a very different situation. And while it might seem very far away, even the Russia war and the aggression towards Ukraine, we have to remember we're an island nation. We're sitting between the United Kingdom and the US that are third countries. We have a border attached to us. People in this county know that better than most. And we do not have a resourced defence force. And we also have a number of social media platforms housed in this country that feed into the other EU countries. So while opposition might say we need the language around EU army, boys and girls marching across the EU in this uniform, in response to Russia, couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, cyber violence, cybersecurity, the use of social media in terms of disinfo and misinfo is unsettling our democracy across the EU. So to that point, I think I know EU leaders are conscious of what's happening on our very closest to us, as well as further afield. I mean, there's multiple active wars going on around the world. We also have to be very cognizant that we have a threat very close to us that we know has created immense issues in our democratic state and other states, like I think of UK and they're playing Brexit. I mean, we have to be very real about that threat.
Marie Walsh, we could do this all day, and it's been a lovely conversation. Thanks indeed for joining us this morning. We wish you all the best on the campaign trail, and we will speak again, no doubt, in the coming weeks. But for now, Marie Walsh, MEP, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Blue Poppy Dental. Our state-of-the-art scanners eliminate the need for impressions for dentures, braces, crowns, implants and aligners, meaning faster turnaround times. See bluepoppydental.com for all our contact details. Genesis is turning 30 and you're invited to celebrate 3 decades of Genesis Salon and Gudor on Thursday, April 25th with a live broadcast on Highland Radio from 9 till noon. There's 30% discount on full price treatments booked in the salon and a luxurious hamper worth €400 up for grabs. Proceeds to the Cancer Flight Service. With a live DJ, goodie bags worth €30, bubbles, nibbles and cake, it's going to be an unforgettable celebration at Genesis Salon's 30th birthday bash. See Genesis socials for more.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Lotto jackpot is a guaranteed €2 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
TFI Local Link operates evening and weekend services throughout rural Ireland to help you stay connected 7 days a week. We know life doesn't just happen 9 to 5, so if you're commuting, shopping, visiting family, or going out in the evenings or on the weekends, let TFI Local Link take you there. Visit transportforireland.ie.
The Solterra solution to driving anytime, anywhere is a generous 465-kilometre range and an always-on, all-wheel drive system. The Solterra solution to safety on the road is Subaru Safety Sense, a standard. The Solterra solution is to give you the power with a starting price of only €44,995. Test drive the all-electric Subaru Solterra and read full T's and C's at subaru.ie.
Don't miss the BAFTA award-winning comedian Michael McIntyre's brand new show, Magnificent, at the SSC Arena Belfast on Friday the 31st of May 2024. As always, Highland Radio make it easy for you as we look after all your needs. We will provide luxury transfers, overnight stay at the Clayton Hotel Belfast on a B&B basis, your ticket to the show, shopping time in Belfast City Centre. For more information, go to the outlet at highlandradio.com or give us a call on 074 91 25000. Michael McIntyre in Belfast.
It's the 9 till noon show, 16 minutes to 10 o'clock. Let's talk about the Wild Atlantic Way, because the Wild Atlantic Way stretches from Donegal down as far as Cork. And over the past couple of days, from Wednesday of last week, I pretty much drove a lot of it because I was down in Kerry and Cork, having driven via Galway and Limerick. And it was a really, really great couple of days. And the scenery was absolutely breathtaking. Imagine if we extended it so that instead of stopping in Inishowen, the Wild Atlantic Way kept going and went through County Derry and then over as far as the Causeway Coast and the Giants Causeway. It could happen. It's under discussion. Joined on the line by Sinead McLaughlin, a SDLP MLA in Foyle. Sinead, good morning to you.
Good morning, Donal.
Sinead, you are an MLA at the moment and you're a previous head of the Chamber of Commerce in Derry as well. This is something that's been on the agenda in the past, but now it's coming back into the discussion very much thanks to your party leader, Colin Eastwood.
Yes. I mean, we've been calling for the extension of the Wide Atlantic Way for many, many years now. It's a natural kind of growth of the Wide Atlantic Way to move into Derry and along the Causeway Coast. And the Economy Minister yesterday stated that he was supporting that extension and he was going to be engaging with his counterparts in the Republic of Ireland and Fulch Ireland in order to see if some of the tourism brands can be extended right across the border. And I think that is absolutely a timely, a timely time for us to actually consider all island tourism offering, and it's great news for the city and particularly. And Donal, you've said that you've travelled the Wide Atlantic Way in the last week, but absolutely some of the most spectacular parts of the Wide Atlantic Way are in the northwest coastline, and that includes the Causeway Coast and Glens. So I think this is going to be a huge asset and a huge opportunity for the northwest, and we need to get on with delivery for the benefits are right across the region. We know that this brand is worth more than 3 billion euros to community across the west coast of Ireland each year, and we would like to see a substantial increase of that brand moving into the northwest.
We know that there has been some cross-border cooperation in terms of tourism, and the Tourism Ireland brand is ostensibly a brand that promotes the whole of the island, and it would appear that this is one way of absolutely making that real, because you can really package Donegal, Derry together, Sligo, Leitrim, Donegal, Derry, Tyrone into Antrim as well, that there is a whole potential to market the region as a region, and that the Northwest City Gateway and all that goes with it becomes more than a theory. It actually becomes something that's very, very tangible and real.
It is tangible and real, and it's happening, organically at the moment. Tourists that come up along the west of Ireland actually move into Derry, and some of them are actually quite astounded that the brand doesn't carry through as well. So it is the natural extension. It will be really good for the promotion on this route, which brings benefit to all the outdoor activities, food, tours, pubs, restaurants, cafes, and the whole of the hospitality industry from Derry right through to the Causeway Coast and Glens, and one of the very, very highly visited areas within the Wide Atlantic Way is actually the Causeway Coast, and we need to make sure that or the Giant's Causeway, should I say, and we need to make sure that is part of that whole brand of the Wide Atlantic Way.
As you said, Conor Murphy is making positive noises and is supportive of the idea. Now, obviously, there will have to be a discussion about the cost. There will be considerable cost in terms of signage, in terms of the various designations, in terms of all the work that goes into creating the viewing points and preparing those for designation and so on. You're confident that Conor Murphy is going to back up his support in theory with support financially, because this is going to cost money.
The investment into this is actually going to pay dividends back, and we can see that through the reports, as I say, from Fulch Ireland, the 10-year reports. There was a substantial increase of 60% on revenue generated than just a decade ago. So the investment, of course, there will need to be investment, but the dividends and the payback will be quite substantial. And more than £6 million has already been provided by the Shared Island Unit to link these two brands. So, we're well on our way in terms of an investment in order to make it happen. And I just, for the Northwest and particularly for Derry City, I think it's really important that the city is promoted as a key link in that connection between North and South, and a bridge for investment right across the whole Northwest region.
And there is no doubt there is huge potential for this to be very beneficial, and anything that increases visitor numbers on both sides of the border, because I think you're right. If you can get someone as far as Donegal, they're most likely going to cross into Derry. If you can get someone as far as Derry, they're most likely going to cross into Donegal. And really, it's that sort of the almost inevitability of, once you get them this far, the cross-border element is almost going to be, as you say, organic. The problem is going to be the marketing that gets them to the Northwest. Once they're in the Northwest, then we have them.
Yeah, absolutely. And extending the brand, from Fulch Ireland, gives tourism NI then the impetus to actually market that brand, which they can't actually do at the moment. So, extending the Wild Atlantic Way brand will act as an actual nudge to those visiting the Northwest, just as you said, to continue the journey into Derry and onwards around the North Atlantic coastline.
Sinead McLaughlin, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's Sinead McLaughlin there. You'll have heard the statement from her party leader and the Foyle MP, Colm Eastwood, on the news earlier with Michaela. The prospect of the extension of the Wild Atlantic Way into Derry and on to the Causeway Coast. It's a very interesting one. Now, we are going to take a very short break. Back in just a moment.
The 9 till Noon Show with Blue Poppy Dental. Our new high-powered airflow cleans take dental cleaning to a new level. Additional teeth whitening will have you smile ready for any special occasion. See bluepoppydental.com.
If you're aged 80 or over or have a weak immune system, it's time to get your COVID-19 Spring Booster vaccine. Your Spring Booster will top up your immunity against COVID-19 and help protect you from serious illness for the months ahead. It's recommended you get your booster before the end of May. Talk to a participating GP or pharmacist today, or call our HSC Live team on 1800 700 700. Visit hsc.ie for more information. From the HSC.
Testing. Do you need to get your hearing tested? Test your hearing with a free sample hearing aid from Hidden Hearing. Order your free sample hearing aid today. Call 1-800-370-000 or visit hiddenhearing.ie.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Get the wind working for you with Ireland's very best fixed-rate energy plan. Switch to SSE Airtricity today and save up to €760 off your electricity and gas. Get the same rate for 12 months and enjoy certainty, peace of mind and fantastic savings. All while using greener, cleaner energy. Switching to Ireland's best fixed-rate plan is easy. Simply go to SSEAirtricity.com. SSE Airtricity. This is Generation Green. EAB €2,442. Rates valid from the 1st to the 2nd, 2024. For T's and C's, tariff, standing charges and exit fees, see SSEAirtricity.com/save760.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhinney's. With over 50 years of serving the community in Donegal, McElhinney's is proud to be part of every moment, big and small. Support local, shop McElhinney's Ballybuffet.
And looking at the weather forecast for this morning, and Met Éireann are telling us that we can expect dry weather for a time, but that situation may change. It'll be dry for the most part, mix of sunshine and cloud. A few light showers will develop though later on, but they will be isolated. Top temperatures 11 to 13, mildest the further south you go in the region, in a light to moderate northerly breeze. Tonight it'll be generally dry again with some broken cloud, a few stray showers around. Lowest overnight temperatures 2 to 6, coldest where the clear breaks persist. Some showers early tomorrow morning with a mix of cloud and sunny spells. It'll become cloudier everywhere during the day with showery rain developing in places. Cooler tomorrow, top temperatures 8 to 10, in light to moderate northerly or variable breezes. Now we're going to go to Zoom, and we're joined on Zoom by Angela, who is the PRO of the Micah Action Group. Angela, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Donal, and thank you for the opportunity to come on the radio this morning.
It is our pleasure. We spoke to Lisa Hone on the news yesterday. This is Angela Ward, the PRO. The documents that MAG got via Freedom of Information and has now written to both the Minister Darragh O'Brien and the National Standards Authority of Ireland about are interesting. Tell us effectively what these documents you've uncovered say.
Okay, so I suppose just to give you a little bit of context then first, Donal, as a group, MAG, we're becoming increasingly frustrated and concerned with what was going on in relation to the fact that, we have a live scheme which was never based in scientific evidence. And we had known that there was ongoing research being conducted and felt that we needed to glean information in relation to the status of that research. So an FOI was submitted. And what we found ultimately was that the NSAI and the Department of Housing have had the results of research for 4 months and have been sitting on critical information that should actually demand, ASAP a review of the legislation as it stands in relation to the DCB Act. Essentially, what was going on there was that critical information was known but was not being acted upon.
And one of the key pieces of information was that foundations at present are showing signs of problems. They're not as serious as the outer leaf. They're not as serious as we're seeing on some of the walls, but the problems are there and they very probably will get worse.
Indeed. Now, to date, I suppose the NSAI and the Department of Housing have been treating the defective concrete crisis in Donegal differently to how they've been treating it in other counties like Mayo, for example. So they had based their testing and remediation on a desktop exercise, essentially, that touted freeze-thaw action and mica, as opposed to internal sulphate attack as the problem that was affecting our homes in Donegal. So that was based basically on expert opinion as opposed to any robust, rigorous scientific research. And the research, the information that we obtained from the Freedom of Information request was essentially that all research partners were in agreement that all parts of the home examined were being affected by pyrite and internal sulphate attack. And it wasn't just the outer leaf, that it was each part. So it was the outer leaf, it was the internal leaf or the inner leaf, it was the rising wall and the strip foundations. Now, the strip foundations at the minute aren't even part of that testing protocol. What the government had felt was that there were no issues, and this is what they've been saying all along. There was no evidence to suggest that there were any issues with foundations. And obviously there was no evidence to suggest this because no research had been undertaken. So we're seeing the exact opposite now, that there is evidence of liberated pyrite within the strip foundations. And the research has stated clearly that there is early evidence of oxidation and the liberation of sulphur, indicating that the presence of ISA is ultimately a long-term risk. Now, they have said, obviously, that the risk, the level, I suppose, of deterioration in the strip foundations and within the inner leaf is less so than in the outer leaf.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's because it's kept dry and so on. But that is not to say that this will not become a problem further down the road. So it's clear that deleterious materials are in every single part of our homes.
And the fear, obviously, is now that houses remediated under the current scheme will be remediated, but we could now find ourselves in 10, 15 years' time with problems in the foundation, with more problems emerging, and ultimately the nightmare is that we find ourselves back where we started.
Absolutely. So none of the remediation options, not one of them, from option 1 through 5, option 1 being a full demolition, addresses the issue of strip foundations. And the concern is that the same aggregate containing these iron sulfides has been used in the poured concrete, plus we have pyrite found in all parts of the building, then this is only going to be a temporary fix. They're pushing us down. It would seem to be a cheaper option, but an option that ultimately is going to leave us facing this nightmare in the future again.
Angela Ward, PRO of the Mica Action Group, thanks indeed for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Donal.
And it's one obviously we'll be keeping a very close eye on. That's Angela. It's coming up to 10 o'clock, news and obituaries after these.
The 9 till noon show with Blue Poppy Dental, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Do you have missing teeth or poorly fitting dentures? Call Blue Poppy today to inquire about our new implant-assisted dentures. Payment plans are available for all high-value treatments.
New this week in Home Store and More. All lightweight luggage is all half price. That's right, half price. But better hurry, because when all the half-price lightweight luggage is gone, it's gone. Also, all mops and buckets and all mattress protectors are still all half price. But when all the half-price mops and buckets and all the half-price mattress protectors are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Refresh your shoe wardrobe with the latest arrivals from Green Shoes. bringing you the latest styles from top brands such as Riker, Birkenstock and Wonders. Also, New Balance, Bugatti, XTI and many more. Step into style this season with Green Shoes, Market Square, Letterkenny Shopping Centre and Fulcara, or at greenshoes.com. One for all and Shop LK cards accepted.
Auricular coherent toncatery.
Optocapital funicular tricaptary.
Ocular coffensive totomography. Oh, I've got it. No, I lost it.
Optimized comprehensive phonology.
What is it anyway?
Optical coherence tomography, an advanced eye health scan that can help spot sight conditions early. At Specsavers, we think it's so important, we're providing it nationwide.
It's ocular coherence
Not everyone can say it, but everyone can have it. Add it to your eye test. Check your local store for price.
Thinking about saying goodbye to diesel? Making the move to hybrid is easier than ever thanks to Toyota Approved Used. Choose from an extensive range of used Toyota hybrids, including the iconic Corolla and the bold and beautiful Toyota CHR. Tested and approved by Ireland's most trusted car brand. All our cars come with a 12-month comprehensive warranty with flexible payment options available. Talk to Kelly's Toyota about Toyota Approved Used. Toyota, built for a better world. T's and C's apply.
Tune in to the 9 till noon show for a live broadcast this Thursday from Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Edore as part of their 30th birthday celebrations. There's going to be 30% discount on treatments, a lavish hamper up for grabs, goodie bags, treats and more. That's the 9 till noon show live from Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Edore this Thursday.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. Gardaí are appealing for witnesses to a fatal crash in Fulcara yesterday, which claimed the life of an elderly woman. The woman in her 80s, who was the driver and sole occupant of the car, was taken to hospital following the crash at Ballina yesterday afternoon at 1:30. She was later pronounced dead. A technical examination of the scene has been carried out and the road has since reopened. Anyone with information is urged to contact Milford Garda Station. The former DUP leader Jeffrey Donaldson is in court in the North this morning, charged with historical sex offences. He will appear before Newry Magistrates Court after being charged last month. Andrew Lyth reports.
There is a large media presence outside Newry Magistrates Court as Jeffrey Donaldson appears before a judge for the first time in connection with the case. He was arrested and charged last month with 11 offences of an historical nature, including 1 count of rape. A 57-year-old woman has also been charged with aiding and abetting in connection with the offences. He resigned as DUP leader following his arrest last month and was also suspended from the party. He denies all the charges against him. Andrew Louth at Newry Magistrates Court.
The North's Economy Minister has expressed his support to have the Wild Atlantic Way extended into Derry. SDLP leader Colm Eastwood wrote to Economy Minister Conor Murphy on the back of a recent report which revealed the tourism initiative generates more than €3 billion per year in revenue. He requested an assessment of the potential benefit of extending the Wild Atlantic Way from Donegal through Derry and onto the Causeway Coast. Foyle MLA Sinead McLaughlin says the expansion of the tourism initiative into Derry will be a natural progression. She says work needs to start now so the Northwest can reap the benefits.
I think this is going to be a huge asset and a huge opportunity for the Northwest, and we need to get on with delivery for the benefits right across the region. We know that this brand is worth more than $3 billion to community across the west coast of Ireland each year, and we would like to see a substantial increase of that brand moving into the northwest.
The government says it's building around 1,000 homes every week. The coalition says it's on track to meet, if not exceed, this year's housing target of 34,500 homes. But Housing Minister Darragh O'Brien admits many people still can't actually afford to buy a house.
It is still for people, and let's acknowledge that too. For many, it's still a struggle to purchase a home, and sometimes because they don't have the information at their fingertips. And we need the banking sector to respond too. We've seen 10, 11 increases in interest rates as well.
An overhaul of criteria for the local improvement scheme aims to ensure the scheme is more accessible. The change announced by Minister Heather Humphreys yesterday requires just one hard number for a valid LIS application, meaning properties sharing a lane can individually apply for funding to carry out improvements. Councillor Patrick McGuyan says the amendment is significant.
There's a lot of people who have been excluded in this scheme for a long time. They will be able to come in because you do have a lot of lanes there with a number of houses. You have also have cases of disability and access issues, and maybe your school buses or other things going up and down these lanes, and people complaining, or your home help workers acting up and down. And it's great now that you just prove that you have one farmer who's a bona fide farmer that.
An official portrait has been unveiled at Stormont to mark a Donegal-born Lord's service as Speaker of the Northern Ireland Assembly. Lord William Hay was born in Milford before moving with his family to Derry. During his political career, he held roles as a DUP councillor and Foyle MLA and was appointed to the House of Lords in 2014. Lord Hay served as Speaker of the NI Assembly for almost 7.5 years. Foyle MLA Gary Middleton says it was an honour to attend the unveiling of the portrait of his colleague yesterday and that it was a special occasion. Weather now, another dry day for most with a mix of sunshine and cloud. While a few light showers will develop, they will be isolated. Highest temperatures of 11 to 13 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. You can keep up to date with the latest local news on our website highlandradio.com. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices for this Wednesday afternoon, April the 24th. The death has taken place of Lena Catherine McCarran, 9 Marion Park, Buncrana. Remains reposing at her residence from 6 o'clock this evening. Funeral from there at 9:20 on Friday morning, going to St Mary's Oratory, Buncrana for 10 o'clock Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in Cockhill Cemetery. Family time from 10 o'clock until 11 o'clock. Family flowers only, donations if desired to the Alzheimer's Society, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Hugo McGarrigle, 40 Ballycolman Road, Strabane, reposing at his home this evening from 6 o'clock. Funeral leaving his home tomorrow morning at 9:25 for Requiem Mass in the Church of the Immaculate Conception, Strabane at 10 o'clock. Interment afterwards in Strabane Cemetery. Family time please from 11 o'clock to 11 o'clock. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. And the death has occurred of Margaret Kelly, Strogrady, Termin. Remains will repose at her home from 11 o'clock this morning. Funeral to St Columba's Church, Termin, tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, with burial afterwards to the adjoining cemetery. House private from 11 o'clock to 11 o'clock. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
The Salterra solution to driving anytime, anywhere is a generous 465 kilometre range and an always-on, all-wheel drive system. The Salterra solution to safety on the road is Subaru Safety Sense, a standard. The Salterra solution is to give you the power with a starting price of only €44,995. Test drive the all-electric Subaru Salterra and read full T's and C's at subaru.ie.
It's the second hour of the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. You're very welcome to the programme. 086 60 25,000 for your text or WhatsApp messages. 07491 25,000 or 0035374 9125,000, depending on your location. If you want to call us, Caroline producing and taking your calls, Shannon taking your calls this morning as well. Just a few comments and little bits to get through before we go to the bingo numbers, which are coming up very shortly. Congratulations to Jason McGahill on winning the Glór Tira final on TG Cahir last night. Proud night again for the county. Well done, Jason, and congratulations to you. Would it be possible to get a happy birthday call out to Elaine Devlin today, 47. She's driving to Belfast for work this morning, but there'll be a takeaway waiting when she gets home from her 4 boys, Connor, Dara, Oren and Gavin. We love you, Mammy. I see a European candidate already has posters up. Is this allowed? I'm not quite sure what the legal situation is, but yeah, we can expect to see a lot more posters starting to move up. And as I was travelling up the country from Cork up towards Donegal, and there's quite a few people actually have posters up in various places. I could give you the names of quite a few European election candidates now at this point, and a couple of locals as well. Great news that Donegal has got €2.8 million for local improvement. I wonder if any of the money is allocated to Inishowen. One example we have is part of the Cranagh River on Cock Hill, Cranagh, blocked by falling trees, one in the recent storm, the rest from the bad flood 67 years ago. A total disgrace, and no department does anything to resolve the situation. It beggars belief, and thank you for airing my view. Now, yes, some of that LIS money will go to the Inishowen Municipal District. However, it cannot be used for what you've just outlined there. The LIS scheme is very specifically there to help do repairs on lanes and smaller roads in local areas that are not under the control of Donegal County Council. So effectively farmers can apply for money to get work done on a lane. There may be 2 or 3 houses down a lane, or farms or whatever. So it's very specific local improvement projects that are applied for on a local basis by people. And it can't be used by the council for other general maintenance work. Lee already mentioned this, but I just want to give a mention to the fact that tomorrow, Thursday, the 9 till noon show is on the road. Greg will be live from Genesis Aesthetic Skin and Hair Studio in Bunbegan, Godor, to celebrate their 30th anniversary in business. They're offering 30% off full price treatments on the day, booking in the salon only. Be in with a chance to win a hamper worth over €400 fundraiser collection on the day, with all proceeds in aid of the Donegal Cancer Flight Service. There'll be a live DJ, goodie bags valued at €30, bubbles, nibbles and cake. And Greg will be at the Genesis Aesthetic Skincare and Hair Studio in Bunbeg, Godor, tomorrow from, as the name of the programme suggests, 9 till noon. Yesterday, there was a question asked about qualification for the electricity allowance. And I said my understanding was that it was universal, and I was open to correction. And someone said, yes, if you're a low unit user, you don't qualify. I own a holiday home, and that's the situation I'm in. And another caller indeed has backed that up. Not everyone can qualify. You have to use a certain number of units. I know this. When I went to apply, I was told I don't use enough electricity units. Now, yesterday we spoke to Karina, who is the aunt and godmother of Rebecca Brown. And Rebecca was sadly killed when she was hit by a Garda car at Ludden Buncrana in May of last year. Now, the matter was referred to GSOC, and we had contacted GSOC to see if we could get a statement, because the family are saying there's not enough information about. We've had a statement this morning from GSOC, the Garda Síochána Ombudsman Commission, and I'll read that statement to you. The matter was referred to GSOC on the morning of Sunday 21st of May 2023 by An Garda Síochána. It remains under investigation by GSOC. Investigations into incidents such as this require time and care, and GSOC's priority is to ensure that the investigation is as thorough as possible. In the context of a live investigation, there are significant restrictions placed upon an investigative agency with regard to what it may disclose to interested parties. This is to ensure that the integrity of the investigation and of any statutory processes that may arrive from it is preserved. The investigation team and family liaison officers will continue to liaise with the Brown family and their appointed representatives, providing them with updates on the investigation as they arise. GSOC is not in a position to comment further. And that is a statement, as I say, that we've received from GSOC. Earlier in the programme, we had Maria Walsh, MEP, in studio with us. And a caller says, please ask Maria Walsh why she is not in Strasbourg doing her job with her fellow MEPs this week. Very important votes going on. And Maria is in Ireland. What's wrong with the water in the stream going through Barnesmore Gap? It looks very green and dirty, so says a caller. And caller says, Maria, if we are silent on abortion, we are complicit with it too. Legal does not equal right. Abortion is genocide also. Over 30,000 babies killed over the last 3 or 4 years. That's some slaughter in Ireland. I do empathise with those suffering and killed in Gaza and Israel, but it's out of our hands. But we can lower the figure for abortion. And that comes from Margaret. The time on Highland Radio, 40 minutes past 10 o'clock. It's time for the bingo numbers. So if you play Highland Radio Vision Ireland Bingo, grab your pens, grab your books, and here we go.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio. It's Wednesday, April 24th. Playing on a blue sheet. Reference number is S3. It's week 17. Today's numbers are 85, 47, 48, 82, 19, 42, 60, 73, 13 and 72. Phone your claim to 910-4833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Are your small appliances due an upgrade? Irwin Expert Electrical, your ultimate destination for all things electrical. From stylish toasters and kettles to innovative coffee machines and air fryers. Or elevate your tech game with our selection of smartwatches, iPads, laptops and phones, and TVs from all your top brands. Stay connected with Irwin Expert Electrical, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
Looking for that Hoka experience? Try the new range at bmcsports.ie. New Arahi 7, Clifton 9, or the Eversoft Bondi 8. Step into our safe size experience so you can fit the best trainer for your foot. Let us make your trainer experience the best it can be. Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Experience stress-free wisdom tooth removal and root canal treatments at Blue Poppy Dental, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Our specialist team and advanced equipment ensure patient comfort and a positive dental experience. See bluepoppydental.com. Sponsors of today's show.
The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. You'll have heard on the news this morning with Michaela that Minister Darragh O'Brien has directed Donegal County Council to make a number of changes to the Letterkenny Plan and Local Transport Plan, which were both adopted earlier this year. 6 recommendations were subsequently sent to the Minister by the Office of the Planning Regulator, and in the case of 4 of those recommendations, the Minister has directed Donegal County Council to make changes to the plan. I'm joined on the line by Councillor Paul Canning, who is the chair of the Planning Strategic Policy Committee on Donegal County Council, and at that committee recently there was a lot of discussion on this particular issue. Paul, good morning.
Good morning, Donal. How are you?
Very well indeed, thank you, Paul. I happened to attend the meeting at which this was discussed. I also attended the meeting in Lifford that the Letterkenny Plan and Transport Plan were discussed at. Effectively, what we have here, Paul, and you can give some background here, but we have 6 decisions were taken by councillors, contrary, it has to be said, to the recommendations of the draft plan prepared by officials, and the Office of the Planning Regulator said, no, we don't want to see this happen, so they passed on recommendations to the Minister. Just tell us, first of all, how that process worked.
Yeah, well, that process works, and so far as we as you well know, we go through the plan in great detail, and the draft plan in great detail, and then we kind of nip and tuck at a lot of the plan, and then we put it forward. The planning within Donegal County Council makes their own recommendations and comes back to us and says yes, no, maybe. And then after that, if we disagree with their own planning, we then send it further to the planning regulator, who sort of backs up what the planning says at times. And then the planning regulator, then he will be informing the minister. So in relation to this situation, I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised. You know, it's a knockback from the planning regulator. Not even though the minister has signed off on it, he is basing his opinions on what the planning regulator is saying. You know, and we're a group of councillors, and we've tried to be as constructive and as proactive in the development of Letterkenny. But listen, similar to the 4-lane and going into Letterkenny, we voted against the 4-lane for the reasons that we're seeing today. But I think the same thing is going to happen in relation to the non-development of the sites. Now, the 4 sites that you've made, the 6 sites, we'll say, with the 4 sites that have been knocked back, right? Just to give you a very quick overview, the site out at Creve, we have already residential development in that area with all of the infrastructure in place. We just wanted to keep the option open to build more houses, which was, simple thinking. In relation to the second site, which was at Castlebean, that is an infill site that could have catered for a number of dwellings, easy, low-hanging fruit as well. In relation to the third site, which is Ballymacool, well, the amount of existing dwellings in and around that area, we wanted to zone an area that we could develop a school campus going forward, rather than have everyone driving into the cathedral area causing traffic congestion. And listen, the boys in Dublin, we must remember that we're not a city with a dart service or a bus every 10 minutes. So the parents, understandably, are not going to allow their 5-year-old walk to school. So we were trying to bring the school out to areas that have large populations, which Ballymacool had going into the future. In relation to the fourth site in Bunagee, we had wanted to zone the area out in Bunagee for general employment and for commercial. This was a knockback. It was knocked back because of the flood zone reasons. Again, we already have the mitigation in place. The sites are already established. Businesses out there looking to extend or start up, they'll have to move into the centre of town. I don't think that makes planning sense for any large industry. So these things that we're on the ground, all of the Letterkenny councillors, to be fair to them, put in a massive amount of work into this plan. And to get those knockbacks, we do welcome the Glencar Scouts and the Kelly Club.
And they're both in terms of housing and residential.
Yeah, but that was a penalty kick, Donal, in my opinion. So I think, just to give you the way the actual regulator and the national planning are thinking, their whole rationale of the development plan is based on sequential, town centre first, walking distance to all services. That's all very fine if the planning authority automatically granted planning permission for areas that they zone without third-party objection. But unfortunately, that's not the case on the ground. At present, I think we have over 70,000 housing units under appeal within Bord Pleanála. So these decisions could take years, and then they can be appealed to the court. So we wanted to open Letterkenny up for development and not give the anomaly to one or two sites that can call their price. And that's where we were at as councillors, And again, Donald, I'm sorry for going on a wee bit, but planning has made me think, and I could chat for weeks on it, but we must bear in mind too, the new planning bill, in my opinion, is more than likely to recommend these development plans will be enforced for 10 years, And 10 years, Donald, some of us will have a bus pass by then, but we do have the option of bringing a variation to this plan, right, after in the new group. So we have a lot of positive items within this plan. It's just a pity that the planning regulator, went against us on those four sites.
So what happens now, as I understand it, what happens now is that effectively the plan, the text that's been passed and adopted by the council is amended in the case of Creve, Castlebane, Ballymacool and Bunagee, that it's amended, and the original wording that was in the draft plan produced by the council planners and the chief executive, that now goes into the plan. There is no other recourse. It's now a ministerial direction, so there is no further recourse that the council can take.
No, that's correct. That's what I'm saying. The new council, for a better word, the new council, they can start the process, of a variation from the get-go of the new plan. So whenever they get elected and they're on there, they can start that and say, listen, we're still not happy. We want to vary the plan, because I put in a stronger argument for those sites, because they'll discover that, other areas, they'll not be in a position to get developed that has been sold because of objections, because of this and because of that. So they'll be in a position whenever, and they'll have a 5-year to get their head around it, etc. And hopefully there's still a few of the older crew on there to guide them through it. But we then at that point in time, a variation, if there's sites there, because there is, in my opinion, there's stone wall sites that should remain within their zone, within them commercial sites out in Bunagee. Where are we going to put businesses in the centre of the town? So that's where I was disappointed. Yeah. But because it's far out from the town centre, I wasn't I wasn't surprised.
We know
that's their policy, but that's all right. Yep. In Dublin and Cork and them bigger cities, but this is Letterkenny we're trying to develop.
We know that a new council, as you said, will be in place after the summer. Within a number of months, 10 at the absolute most, possibly less, we'll have a new government. So it could be a different minister in 2025. So a new council could propose a variation. It could go through all the various hoops and channels again. And it could be a different minister who's making the directions in 2025, 2026. Is there a chance you believe that these recommendations and, these directions now from Darragh O'Brien could be overturned? Or is this going to be a matter of decisions made by civil servants and the minister just rubber stamping them?
Yes, you're 100% right there. The planning regulator is going to be the same planning regulator, but I think we have to go back in and give a better, make a better argument for the betterment of the town, because the minister, as I said to you at the outset, the minister only signs off on recommendation that's coming up from his civil servants. That's the case. They have a little bit of movement, but not that much movement, and they can't be going about shouting national policy, and then go against their own national policy on maybe a couple of local items that we want. So it's trying to get the balance right, and bear in mind in the national planning framework there was a paragraph in it that said that any land that was previously zoned or not for residential shouldn't be taken out of the town plan, which has happened in Letterkenny. But we made that argument, but it fell on deaf ears. So we still have to continue to make that argument, and that's where we're at. But also, Donal, I know I'm going to move away from Letterkenny just for a second, but on a final note, I would urge, see the smaller towns that we have out in the county, for them to start the process of doing their own master plan for the purpose of applying for funding, because that is now the policy is going to dictate the funding. So you have to get your policies in place. So all them smaller towns out around the county, I think they just start getting together and do a master plan for the village, because that's, you see in Newton Cunningham's punching above its weight regarding development, and that is why, because there's a master plan in place. So we have to go down that route of doing the plan first, and we have to get the plan right, because the policy has to be right, because whenever you're going out to get planning permission, the planner is going to say, hold on, the policy says this, we can't go against the policy. And that's where we have to put ours into getting it right.
Councillor Paul Canning, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Donal. Thank you.
Now, we're going to completely change tack, because during the paper review, I referenced the fact that over 400 Irish artists, musicians, dancers, authors, etc. have signed an open letter to Bambi Thug, Ireland's representative in the Eurovision Song Contest next month, asking them not to participate in the Eurovision Song Contest due to the participation of Israel. I'm joined on the line by singer and actor Mary Coughlin, one of the signatories. Mary, good morning. Right, I thought I had Mary Coughlin on the line. I don't have Mary Coughlin on the line. I think we're going to try and get Mary back. What we'll do in the meantime is take a very short break, and hopefully we'll be back with Mary after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Blue Poppy Dental, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Our orthodontic team can take care of all your clear aligners and fixed appliance needs with payment plans available. See bluepoppydental.com.
All you need to make your house a home at Patterson's The Hall Lifford. From garden furniture to kitchens, sofas and dining sets, all under one roof. Need a new mattress? Why not visit our sleep centre on the first floor, with a large range of quality beds and mattresses in stock and ready for collection or delivery. Relax in our coffee shop, serving hot lunches daily. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, The Hall Lifford.
Enjoy summer with Home Store and more. Bring your garden to life with our great range of garden furniture, including rattan sets, barbecues, solar lights and much more. Like our Florence Corner set for €649. Dine in style with the Amelia 7-piece garden set for only €229. Light up your garden with our 10 LED bulb solar lights, only $9.99. Make your garden your sanctuary. Visit in-store or shop online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
The infection felt terrible. I just wasn't getting better. I was breathing fast and I felt confused. I had shivers and pain through my body. I was drinking water, but I wasn't peeing. I felt like I was going to die. In the hospital, they said I had sepsis. And it's urgent.
Sepsis can hide behind any infection at any age, so watch out for the signs. Visit hse.ie/sepsis for more information. And don't be afraid to ask the question, could it be sepsis? From the HSE.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny Clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who are unable to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
There's an exciting lineup of events in store at the Villa Rose and Jackson's Hotels Ballybuffet this spring. From Ireland's top Tina Turner act to the Whistling Donkeys to the Young Wolf Tones and more. Contact the Villa Rose and Jackson's Hotels for details.
It's the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. We can go to line 1 and now we can say good morning to Mary Coughlin.
Good morning at last. How are you?
Absolutely. Mary, thanks indeed for joining us on the show this morning. Mary, you're one of over 400 people who have signed this letter to Bambi Thug, asking them not to participate in next month's Eurovision Song Contest. What's the basic thrust of the letter? Mary, I'm really sorry. We can't hear a word you're saying. It is a most horrendously bad line. I'm going to shut this one down.
I know. I told you to call me on WhatsApp. You have to call me on.
No, I have you. No, I have you now. I have you now. Thanks very much. No, that sounds.
I live
fine.
in the mountains.
Oh, I appreciate and understand that. Important from your point of view that Bambi Thug heeds the letter.
Well, I think it would be an amazing gesture if she did, and think what it would be like to be remembered for the artist that stood up to the entire lot of them, you know. In fact, it shouldn't be her responsibility. The European Broadcasting Union have a responsibility. They and everyone is saying the song contest is not political, you know. But they made it political when they banned Russia forever and ever and ever because of what they did in Ukraine. So I think the double standards there and the pressure from America that America is exerting on countries all over the world and their support for Israel. People are like afraid of them. America is behaving appallingly in this situation. I think it would be, and we have called on her, 400 of us, but we're only part of thousands and thousands and thousands of artists that have called on people all over the world to refrain from entering the song competition. We've also broadcasters.
The letter does make the letter makes the point.
On her.
Yeah. The letter makes the point that the President of Israel has spoken of the importance of the Eurovision Song Contest, and one of it seems that's because the Eurovision Song Contest will give Israel legitimacy, and that's a legitimacy you believe Israel does not at this point in time deserve.
Of course it doesn't. And Michael Martin spoke wonderfully from the Rafah crossing. And he said what was happening there. He couldn't believe it. He said that what Israel was doing was genocide, and it was like unprecedented. And I have a statement here in front of me, but I'm doing it so I can't read it. And he said that they had stopped things like sleeping bags and orange juice going to children in Gaza that Israel had because they were luxury items. So he has called out yesterday from Cairo and from the Rafah crossing very strongly. And all of us artists, thousands of us all over the world, what they did last night in America, Columbia University, people stayed out all night calling for the government to do something. It's not just about the Eurovision, you know, it's about what's happening in Gaza. It's what Israel is doing to the people of Gaza. But what an opportunity for Bambi Thug to stand up to the whole lot of them and say, I'm not doing it, you know, I'm not doing it. I'm going to stand with the people of Palestine on this and not doing it. And she could difference that they made it political when they stopped Russia. That was my point, you know.
And a number of comments coming in.
The art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a number of comments coming in, and this is sort of typical of what's coming in. It's very easy for us to say that Bambi Tug should boycott the Eurovision, but when will they get an opportunity to get a prime European-wide TV slot and the publicity that brings again? They're an artist trying to make a successful career. They'll have an audience of millions. This is a never-to-be-repeated opportunity. Politics should not stand in the way of a career. Taking part does not indicate any favouritism toward Israel or any other participating country. And I think that that's sort of typical of quite a few of the calls that are coming in.
It is, yeah, that my point was, what a platform with the only artist. Actually, she's not the only one. Other people have said that they will not be there. I think they're just closed out. But what a platform that would be for her, for them, Bambi Club. And, to be remembered and to go down in history as somebody who stood for something that was on the right side, you know. Israel shouldn't be in the competition. The European Broadcasting Act, I cannot understand why they banned Russia for what they did to Ukraine. They banned them for that year and forever, not just for the year. So what is going on? And I really applaud what he said last night. He could just call it as it was, you know.
Well, Mary Coughlin...
we're having a number of events all over Ireland tonight.
Yeah, Mary...
Netherlands to Dublin, we're having... Okay.
Mary, I'm going to say goodbye and say thank you very much indeed. As I say, it wasn't a great line. We got the thrust of what you're saying, which I'm delighted about, because we really did want to hear your voice and hear your perspective. Mary Coughlin, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning. Thank you. And all the best to you. That's Mary Coughlin there, calling us from a mountain in Connemara, I believe Mary lives these days, and what a wonderful place to live. Before we go for a break, just a few requests actually. Very special young lady, Rita Bradley in Ballinafad in Rathdonald, a happy birthday. Only 4 more until your big visit to Oris and Oaktheron. Have a great day. That's from John and Eileen Walsh. And if that's the John and Eileen I know, good morning to you both. Could you please play a request for a very special lady on her 97th birthday, Rita Bradley again. Hope you have a great day. That's from Colm, Siobhan and from all the girls in Derry. Grocery stores seem to be asking you these days if you want a receipt. I thought we were entitled to a receipt. Why are they not giving out receipts? I think it's very much a paper-saving exercise. Someone asks you, do you want a receipt? I go to a local butcher's where I live, and they always ask me, do you want a receipt? And I always say, no, thank you, because I've never had to bring back one of their products, and I don't anticipate having to bring back one of their products in the near future. So I don't, if I'm in a shop and I'm buying something that patently, be it bread or be it milk or whatever, that patently I'm not going to be bringing back, I turn down a receipt. I suppose we do our little bit to save a bit of paper here and there, and if one of us saves one little bit of paper, it makes no difference whatsoever. If 10,000 of us save 100 bits of paper, then maybe that'll make a little bit of a benefit for the environment. Going to take a short break. Back after these.
Transform your smile effortlessly with composite bonding at Blue Poppy Dental. No braces needed. Call us today to discover if your smile is ready for its makeover. See bluepoppydental.com. Proud sponsor of today's show.
The Northwest Cross-Border Jobs Expo will be held on Wednesday, 24th of April from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. in the Radisson Blu Hotel, Letterkenny. The event provides an opportunity to meet employers, check out their current vacancies and learn more about what training or education opportunities are on offer. So whether you're a job seeker, graduate or employed and wish to change jobs, start a new career or relocate, then please register your interest on eventbrite.ie. We look forward to seeing you there. This event is supported by the Cross-Border Partnership for Employment Services, the Department of Social Protection and Department for Communities.
At Century Cinemas, we have a selection of event cinema coming up this April with live shows of the Royal Ballet, Macmillan Celebrated and Swan Lake. Also, the Met Opera La Rondine by Puccini. To make the event even more luxurious, we will be showing it on our premiere screens. To book your tickets, visit our website at centurycinemas.ie.
Skoda's 2 brand new models are going fast. This is Donal, driving off in his new HVO-powered Superb Combi. And the Breen family, getting their plug-in hybrid Kodiaq. And this is the sound of someone who didn't get their order in on time. Order your new Skoda today, before it's too late. Skoda.
Let's explore.
Skoda. Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721 396.
For new perspectives and a fresh vision, join me, Greg Hughes, on the 9 till noon show every Thursday at 10:15 for your voice, your community.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. Support local at McElhinney's. With 53 years experience in fashion, beauty and home, we're here for you. Plus, enjoy M-Card rewards when you shop in-store at McElhinney's Ballybuffet.
Well, we spoke to Mary Coughlin before the break about the letter from over 400 artists, musicians, authors, actors, dancers to Bambi Thug, asking them to pull out of the Eurovision Song Contest. A couple of people called the station and made comments along the lines of, well, why should Bambi Thug ruin their career and pull out? Well, Tony joins us on the line. Tony, that's a question you want to answer.
Yeah, well, personally, well, not personally, I suppose, but I would have over 30,000 plus reasons for Ireland to pull out, and the 30,000 reasons are dead children, and mainly children and women who've been massacred by the Israeli army. And listening to the news yesterday again, when they come on mass graves, and of course the Israelis, they're saying it's nothing to do with them, more or less. And it's horrific what those poor people are going through. I think there was an ex-Israeli soldier on Channel 4 News yesterday explaining how the Israeli army look on these things, and it's more or less just shooting practice for them to kill children and to kill women. It's just not right. I think the whole world at this stage are beginning to see the truth and what's happening.
One of the points that Mary Coughlin made, and indeed it was made by Maria Walsh MEP earlier on in the programme as well, is that there's a huge difference in the way Russia is treated at every level of Europe compared to the way Israel is being treated at the moment.
Well, there's no doubt about that. I mean, the last Eurovision that was actually awarded to the Ukrainians. They won the Eurovision last year, as far as I remember. Maybe I'm wrong.
It was the year before. I think. It was the year before last.
Well, the year before. Oh, sorry, that was it. Yeah, but I mean, you have the Israelis. They're playing football in the European competitions. They want to go into the Eurovision Song Contest. They want to do everything that would be a normal country would be doing. But Israel is not a normal country by the looks of it. They're being armed to the teeth by America. It's like they're like the 54th state of America, really. But it seems to, that's what the problem seems to be, that anything they do, they can either deny it or whatever they want to do,
Presumably RTE is going to go ahead with the broadcast of the Eurovision next month, as it usually does. Do you believe that RTE should consider not doing so?
Well, I think, I don't really know what the position would be there, but, it would be sending a message out to the Israelis, that we're not happy with this, that that's not right what you're doing, killing innocent children and women. I mean, every child when you think about every child you kill, they're more or less saying that's another possible terrorist, as he called them, say in 10 or 15 years' time. And a woman killed, she'll not be given birth, there'll be no births there for another. That seems to be the policy. It's more or less just to eliminate them completely. Anyway, that's my point of view.
It is a difficult one, and there's some comments coming in backing what you're saying. Caller says, anyone that takes part in the Eurovision Song Contest is agreeing with Israel killing children. Also, it's a slap in the face for the Palestinian people. Whoever tunes in watching the Eurovision Song Contest in Israel, and Ireland's entry should boycott it this year. So some comments definitely coming in agreeing with yourself and Mary Coughlin as well. Tony, thanks indeed for speaking to us on the show today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's Tony. And before Tony, we heard from Mary Coughlin, musician. Over 400 artists, musicians, actors, etc. signing that particular document. A number of them from Donegal, including John Muldowney, a musician who played a very key role in organising a recent gig in Angwailen Theatre in support of the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign. Fadel Mustafa as well, also a big organiser of that particular gig. Fadel was offering his support as well. Now, we are going to look at the weather forecast. I think I may have neglected actually to look at the weather forecast at the end of the last break. Another dry day for most today with a mix of sunshine and cloud. A few light showers developing. They'll be isolated. Top temperatures 11 to 13 degrees Celsius. Mildest further south in a light to moderate northerly breeze. Tonight, generally dry under broken cloud with just a few light stray showers. Lowest temperatures 2 to 6 degrees Celsius. Coldest where clear breaks persist. A few mist patches as well. And tomorrow, Thursday, some showers early on, a mix of cloud and sunny spells. It'll become cloudier everywhere, though, as the day goes on, with some showery rain developing. Cooler, with highest temperatures of 8 to 10 degrees Celsius in a light to moderate northerly or variable breeze. And that's the way the weather is looking. Now, caller saying, ask Paul, why do they plant trees on the main street and up at the Old Doctors? If you're driving a large vehicle turning right, you have to cross to the wrong side of the road. That's a caller, I presume, relating to Newton Cunningham. Now, we're going to change our tack and we're going to go to South Donegal and speak to Wendy McCarry, who is the CEO of the Blue Stack Foundation. And Wendy joins us this morning on Zoom. Wendy, good morning.
Good morning, Donal. How are you?
Very well indeed, thank you. Now, you're offering people a chance to do something that a lot of people dream of doing, but very few of us get to do, and that is to climb Mount Everest.
I know. So exciting, isn't it?
Yes. Except I suspect we're going to be doing it virtually, are we?
No. Some of us will be doing it virtually and some of us will be routing people on. But we have a strong cohort who will actually be going to Nepal and doing the trek with Wild and Free.
And that's taking place in March of 2025. But for those of us who perhaps aren't quite ready for Everest yet, there is an alternative.
Yeah, so I mean, as you know, the Blue Stack Special Needs Foundation, we've been operating for the last 20 years. You know, we rely so heavily on fundraised income. And this year, I suppose, we wanted to launch our Teddy Steady Go inclusive fundraising efforts. And, you know, there's 3 different ways that you can participate and support the foundation. You know, the foundation has come from very humble beginnings to now being, you know, county-wide, offering services to over 540 families across the county, everything from respite to Saturday clubs, teen clubs. We have a lovely cafe here in the garden that's run predominantly by young adults with intellectual disabilities. We're taking over a new cafe down in Ballyshannon. You know, I suppose our core purpose and our core aim is to try and ensure that we can enhance the lives of people with additional needs and indeed their families and support them. As a parent myself, Donal, of a young 18-year-old, I know only too vividly how difficult it is when you have a child with disability to try and get the supports and services that you need. And look, what we're doing is only a little ripple in the ocean, but it is definitely having an impact. And our dream is to grow and get bigger and get better and offer more services and more supports for people. But we can't do that without fundraising. And fundraising is extremely important to us. You know, we wouldn't survive without the support of our community, without the community across Donegal. One of our big dreams is to try and move into the Letterkenny area. We have so many children and young adults who are coming from the other side of the gap. You know, we've children coming from Downings to our summer camps because there's nothing else available to them. And, you know, we've had this dream for a long time to try and move into Letterkenny and have a space there. We're already operating in Falcarra, looking at other locations as well. So, you know, we're really keen to try and expand the organisation and to bring the services that we offer closer to those who really need them and who avail of the services.
And anyone who regularly listens to Greg on the 9 till Noon show will know the name of Blue Stack Foundation. You and your colleagues have been regular guests on this programme. And one of the things that really shines through in all of these discussions, and you referenced it yourself earlier, is the Blue Stack Foundation is something that grew right from the start, from the bottom up. This is a community initiative run by parents. And I mean, your hearts must be broken with all the fundraising you're doing, because it seems every day you've got to come up with a new fundraising initiative, and it never stops. I mean, you've in the past spoken about the need for more government support, the need for more recognition of what you're doing, and the need for more support for what you're doing. Is that improving, or are you still in the situation where everything you want, you have to raise the money yourself?
I mean, there are certain elements of our programme, Donal. You know, we have 5 different divisions across the organisation. So we have support from Pobble for our training and progression programme, which has 19 young adults involved in daily activities, training, workshops, work experience, employment opportunities. We have the community services programme, again funded by Pobble, and that looks at kind of income generation. So we do disability equality training. We have the cafe. There's a whole range of kind of income generating social enterprise initiatives. And then we have our programmes department. We've outreach as well, which is funded. Outreach is respite support services that we offer across the county. That's funded by the HSE and by TUSLA. And then we have our programmes department, which is everything from our after school, our Saturday club, our teen club, our choir, our guitar lessons, summer camps, all those kind of activities that we offer. None of that is funded. So that's what we fundraise for, is those core and essential services. And at the end of the day, we get 36,000 from the HSE per annum for our core funding. That comes nowhere near, it doesn't even pay our insurance. You know what I mean? It is, you know, and while we're very grateful to the HSE for their support, it's nowhere near the kind of funding that we need if we are to sustain ourselves, you know, or indeed have any dreams of growing and relocating or locating in new areas and bringing the services closer to the people who actually need it. So that's why we've started the Teddy Steady Go campaign, which is our new kind of campaign fundraiser. And this year, you know, we wanted to try and have a more coordinated effort because, like you say, we are regularly fundraising. And look, you know, it's not nice for any of us having to go out with a bucket all the time, consistently fundraising. I have no problem fundraising and shaking the bucket if it's for programme activities for the beneficiaries, for the people who actually use the services. I've no problem with that. But it's very difficult when you're trying to pay your water bill or your electricity bill or your core expenses that you have. You know, we have over 30 staff that are employed with us at the moment. We offer services to 540 families. Like I say, you know, it is a constant juggle financially to try and manage this. So the Teddy Steady Go is one of the solutions that we have come up with to have a coordinated effort in terms of our fundraising. There are 3 ways that you can participate. Like you said, one of them is Everest, and we have a strong cohort now, thankfully, going to Everest in March of next year. I think the one thing to maybe stress is that, you know, people are sometimes put off by things like that because they think, oh my God, I need to be really fit. And, you know, but that's why people have to sign up now, because there'll be a full year of training, advice and guidance that will happen before you actually go on the journey. So to sign up for the Everest trip, you can go to Wild and Free. The sign-up date, there's an early bird offer if you sign up before May the 1st. And there is the rest of the sign-ups then have to happen before May the 31st because they have to book flights and get the training kind of schedule set up. But there's other ways that you can participate and support the Blue Stack Foundation in terms of the fundraising. You can do a virtual walk. We wanted to make sure that any fundraising we do this year is inclusive, that our members can actually participate in it. So it's really, you know, good that our members can actually do a fundraiser themselves to try and raise the funds for the organisation. And the third way that you can get involved is through a hike in Errigal that we're doing on the 6th of July. So again, if people are interested in supporting us, and we are so grateful, Donal, for any support we can get. I suppose if anybody wants to know more information, to go on to bluestackfoundation.com, and you can find all the information there about the various ways that you can support the organisation.
In terms of Everest, are you talking about actually scaling to the peak, or are you talking about a trek at base camp level? Because obviously the level of training that would be needed for the peak would not be the sort of thing that the average punter can do in a couple of months. So you're talking the trek to base camp, basically, yeah?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
I mean, it's a really fascinating idea, and it's a really interesting one. I mean, obviously, as you say, people already are starting to be captured by this and looking at doing the Errigal Trek. I mean, it's going to be, people talk about it once in a lifetime. I mean, that is once in a lifetime, in fairness, it really is. I mean, you're hoping to get huge numbers, but I mean, obviously, the trek up Errigal on July 6th and the virtual walks and the virtual element are going to be very important as well, and the more people that sign up, the better.
Like with my own son, my own daughter is 18, and we're going to try and get her. We've started our fundraiser now to try and get her up Errigal. She has 4 brothers, and they're going to try and bring her up. She's a wheelchair user, but they're going to do their best to try and get her up Errigal. And I think, you know, for us, it's everybody has their own summit. Everybody has their own capacity. And I think we really wanted to make this fundraiser a fully inclusive fundraiser, even if it's only walking a hill or taking a few steps. You know, everybody has their own capacity, and that's what we wanted to try and create a fundraiser that everybody could participate in.
And important, as you say, too, that this is coming from the bottom up, and that your members and those who use your service are themselves going to get to do their own contribution to this. And that's good for their own self-esteem and for their own selves as well.
Absolutely.
It gives them the sense of it's very much theirs.
Is all about.
Yeah. Wendy, God bless the work, as they say, and hopefully it's a huge success over the coming months. And I know the work you're doing in the Donegal town area initially and now spreading out to areas like Falcarra is phenomenal, and it would be wonderful to see Blue Stack Foundation develop a presence.
That's the dream. That's the absolute dream, is to be able to open a space in
it would be excellent, and hopefully too, as well as the support you're no doubt going to get from the public, to see more support coming from government as well would be excellent.
It would be fantastic. Yeah. Can I also just give a shout out to all our volunteers? You know, we rely very heavily on our volunteers. We've over 90 volunteers with the organisation, and we simply could not do what we do without them. They are just absolutely incredible. And to all your listeners, just to thank everybody, you know, for listening to us, for considering us and trying to support us to move forward.
Wendy, all the best with it over the coming months. We'll keep a close eye on the way things are going. And I mean, I don't even have to say it. Do keep in touch with the programme. I know that Greg and Caroline are on on a regular basis, and that's going to continue into the future. Wendy, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thanks so much indeed, Donal. Have a nice day.
It's our pleasure as always. You too. Right, and that's Wendy there, and that initiative on Everest taking place in March of next year. And of course, if you want to stay closer to home, there's a trek up Errigal on July 6th this year. Now, a comment has come in, and this is an important one. I just want to voice a major concern this morning about the road from the Clanry Hotel into the Polestar roundabout in Letterkenny. 2 ambulances in an emergency situation with lights flashing and sirens blazing were unable to get through the traffic. Cars tried their best to move. However, the volume of traffic on that road this morning at 9 made it very difficult for cars to manoeuvre out of the way for the 2 ambulances to get through. I know this has been noted before. However, this permanent concrete bollard is ridiculous. Much better use of the area, such as for emergency vehicles to get through to reach the hospital, would have been more appropriate. What was witnessed this morning is truly appalling. As a nurse, I have absolutely no doubt that some patients will suffer dire consequences purely due to the fact that they're unable to reach the acute hospital in a timely manner. The fact in 2024 that a concrete bollard in the middle of the road, leaving cars nowhere to manoeuvre to let ambulances past, is a shambles and should not be allowed. That's a comment that has come in from a nurse who witnessed that situation develop on the 4-lane road between the Clanry Hotel, between effectively the Dry Arch and the Polestar roundabout, and that happened this morning. And that is food for thought.
The 9 till noon show with Blue Poppy Dentistry and Orthodontics, located on Pierce Road, Letterkenny, and just off the Diamond, Donegal town. Payment plans available for all major treatments. See bluepoppydental.com.
Hi, Bridgeen here from McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tiles, Buncrana. Our massive marquee tile sale in Buncrana is now on, with up to 75% off wall tiles, floor tiles and much more. Grab yourself a bargain this week at McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tiles, Buncrana.
For day-to-day healthcare needs, generations have trusted the experienced staff at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From coughs and colds to aches and pains, from vitamin supplements to first aid essentials. McGee's have what you need when you need it, with a full prescription service available daily. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, for healthcare help and advice you can always trust.
FBD doesn't stand for frighteningly rad dentists, ferociously beating drums, or feline business directors. FBD stands for support. We support business owners in Ireland with tailor-made services from personally assigned advisors. Visit your local branch to talk to your FBD insurance team. FBD Insurance. Support. It's what we do. Underwritten by FBD Insurance plc. FBD Insurance Group Limited, trading as FBD Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Irish National Opera presents a new production of L'Olympiade by Vivaldi, a fiery opera about tangled relationships and forbidden love, played out with the backdrop of the Olympic Games. Olivier Award-winning conductor Peter Whelan conducts the Irish Baroque Orchestra. One night only in Greenan Theatre, Letterkenny, Tuesday the 30th of April. Tickets from €29. See on greenan.com. Funded by the Arts Council.
Whatever the weather, Tesco's got you covered with our finest barbecue range, like Bordbia quality assured Irish Angus burgers with sriracha chili mayo, any 3 for 2 with your club card. And look your finest too with lower prices on hundreds of F&F fashion items. Tesco. Every little helps. Subject to availability, exclusions apply.
This is the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. It's 11 o'clock, time for the headlines, and we say good morning to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Donal. Good morning. Gardaí are continuing to appeal for witnesses to a fatal crash in Falcarra yesterday, which claimed the life of an elderly woman. The woman in her 80s, who was the driver and sole occupant of the car, was taken to hospital following the crash at Kavanagh yesterday afternoon at 1:30. She was later pronounced dead. The road has since reopened. The former DUP leader Jeffrey Donaldson is due in court in the North this morning, charged with historical sex offences. He will appear before Newry Magistrates Court after being charged last month. The North's Economy Minister has expressed his support to have the Wide Atlantic Way extended into Derry. SDLP leader Colm Eastwood wrote to Minister Conor Murphy on the back of a recent report which revealed the tourism initiative generates more than €3 billion per year in revenue. He requested an assessment of the potential benefit of extending the Wide Atlantic Way from Donegal through Derry and onto the Causeway Coast be carried out. The Taoiseach says he will issue a personal letter of apology to the families of the Stardust victims. Simon Harris says counselling will also be offered while a national commemoration is being planned to honour the victims. Families have welcomed the state apology offered in the Dáil yesterday, but have questions about the next steps. The government says it's building around 1,000 homes every week. The coalition says it's on track to meet, if not exceed, this year's housing target of 34,500 homes. But Housing Minister Darragh O'Brien admits many people still actually can't afford to buy a home. An overhaul of the local improvement scheme criteria aims to make the scheme more accessible. The change announced by Minister Heather Humphreys yesterday requires just one herd number for a valid LIS application, meaning property sharing a lane can individually apply for funding to carry out improvements. Councillor Patrick McGuyan says the amendment is significant. And an official portrait has been unveiled at Stormont to mark a Donegal-born Lord's service as Speaker of the Northern Ireland Assembly. Lord William Hay was born in Milford before moving with his family to Derry. During his political career, he held roles as a DUP councillor and Foyle MLA and was appointed to the House of Lords in 2014. Lord Hay served as Speaker of the Northern Ireland Assembly for almost 7.5 years. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
If you're aged 80 or over or have a weak immune system, it's time to get your COVID-19 Spring Booster vaccine. Your Spring Booster will top up your immunity against COVID-19 and help protect you from serious illness for the months ahead. It's recommended you get your booster before the end of May. Talk to a participating GP or pharmacist today or call our HSC Live team on 1800 700 700. Visit hsc.ie for more information. From the HSC.
Welcome to our 3 of today's 9 till noon show. Just one or two comments before we go to our next caller. Ireland should pull out of the Eurovision, but don't put the decision on Bambi Thug. Too much pressure for a new young artist. The governing body must be told we're not going. Another caller says, of course Ireland should pull out of the Eurovision. There are, however, some contrary views. Russia mounted an unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. Israel reacted to an invasion of their country by Hamas, who are the democratically elected government of Gaza. Why aren't people like Mary Coughlin not on the streets demanding Hamas return the hundreds of hostages that they have taken? Another caller says, I'm sick of listening to people condemn Israel. Who started this on the 7th of October with the Palestinians? They've been sending rockets into Israel for years. Israelis would live in peace if it wasn't for that. Caller says, personally, Donal, I really like the Bambi Thug song for Eurovision, but I still think they should be... No, sorry, I'll rephrase that. Personally, I don't really like the Bambi Thug song for Eurovision. I think it's horrible, but I still think they should be able to perform. Not performing will make no difference at all. That's another comment there. Now it's time for our Wellness Wednesday spot. And this morning, delighted to go to Zoom and welcome Dr. Mary O'Kane, who is a lecturer in psychology and early childhood education. Mary, very good morning to you.
Morning, Donal. Lovely to speak to you.
And you too. You've just written a book, Mary, Anxious Children in an Anxious World, Facing Fears and Finding the Brave. You believe this is potentially going to be a very important resource.
Oh, Donal, this book, I've written a book in the past, but this book is very close to my heart. And in fact, I was delighted this week. It's actually reached #1 in the Irish bestsellers list, non-fiction, so I was over the moon.
Congratulations.
And thank you. You know, Donal, that reminded me how badly needed the book is. Funny, Donal, the levels of anxiety in our children, from little ones right up to our teens and young adults, are huge at the moment. There was a really important piece of research by a lady called Professor Mary Cannon, and this was pre-COVID, and she found by the age of 13, 1 in 3 of our children have struggled with their mental health, and anxiety was the biggest issue. By the age of 24, half of them have, Donal. So that was prior to COVID. I'd imagine those figures would be higher now, but they really resonate with me. Donal, I have lectured for decades now, I won't say how long, but in the area of psychology and child well-being. But I am a mum of 3, and one of my children struggles with anxiety. So that figure, that 1 in 3 that's always quoted, really resonated with me because I'm living it. Yeah. And I know what it's like to feel so disempowered when your child is struggling.
A lovely quote is, sometimes our job is to protect our children from the rain, to be the umbrella providing shelter, but more often our job is to remind them that they're brave enough to withstand stormy weather. And that's the subtitle of the book, as I said, is Facing Fears and Finding the Brave. That this isn't telling young people, you know, where to go for the answers. In a sense, what you're telling them is, look, you may not realise this yet, but the answer is within you.
Donal, that's it. And you know, parents, to give parents the same message, Donal, anxiety is disempowering. So it takes all the power away from the child, but it does exactly the same to the parent. And I know that from experience. And it might sound really counterintuitive to say, I wanted to write a positive book about anxiety. It's like, you know, no, that makes no sense. But it really is, because that's the message. That's the whole idea. Facing your fears and finding this bravery that we know they have within them. But also for parents to realise there is something you can do. You might feel, oh, what am I going to do? There's nothing I can do to help. But actually, that's not true. If you understand what's happening in their brains, what's happening in their bodies, and if you have that background, that understanding, then you realise there's actually so much I can do to empower them to get out into the world. Donal, we can't remove anxiety. And this whole idea of the stormy weather, and on my cover, Donal, is an umbrella and wellies, because that's my whole thinking. You know, as parents, I know it myself, you want to swoop in and you want to be that umbrella protecting. Now, sometimes that's important that we do that. I mean, I get that. But more often, Donal, what do we really want for them? We want them to know, no, you know what? You can put on your welly boots and you can get out there and dance in the rain. You have it in you to do that. So a lot of what I've done in the book is sort of tried to be very practical for parents and look, this is what you can do to enable them to do that, because it is what we want for them.
And it must have been difficult for you as a professional, to suddenly find yourself as the parent, because it's one thing to have academic knowledge. It's one thing to know all the theories and to be able to cite reports and books and academic papers. Yes. It must be another thing to suddenly find yourself in the situation and yes. Oh, hang on a minute, this isn't theory. This isn't academia. This is real.
Yeah, Donal, that's exactly. And I mean, I'm not alone. I mean, there are so many parents, and it doesn't matter in your professional life what you are. That doesn't matter. Anxiety is affecting so many of our children. And you see, it's the emotion then. It's the emotion you feel. What we want is to be the port in the storm for our children. But when they're feeling anxious, it doesn't matter who you are. When your child is feeling anxious, it brings up all this emotion in you. There's a story I tell in the book, Donal, and it's about chickens, okay? And it's a man called Lawrence Cohen. He's a clinical psychologist in America, and he tells this story. And when he was about 18 or so in high school, he did a study on chickens. In humans, we talk about going into a state of fight or flight, but chickens freeze. It's tonic immobilization, it's called, when they're under threat. And he did this study with chickens. So he gave a chicken a fright. He had it in a pen, gave it a fright, and he was timing how long it would freeze for. And the chickens would usually freeze for between 1 and 2 minutes when he gave them a fright. So he sent them into this anxious state. But then he frightened the chicken, it froze. He put a second chicken into the pen. Didn't frighten the second chicken, but the second chicken took a look at the first chicken, and it was as if it thought, oh my gosh, there's something really bad here that he knows that I don't know. So the second chicken froze, and they froze for about 5 minutes. Donal, I always, when I heard that story, I thought of parenting and me. And one of my messages to parents is don't be the second chicken. And funny, Donal, when I heard that story the first time, I thought, but I'm not a really anxious parent. But when I thought about my child who struggles, I parent her in a more anxious way. So I became the second chicken. I'm really related to it. And I think most parents do without meaning to, out of love, Donal. When we see them anxious, we become anxious.
And then we
not
feed
what
the
they
anxiety.
need to see.
And we feed the anxiety. You say there are 3 strategies that parents can follow, 3 things parents can do to support their children. And this obviously is going to be the core of the book. But can you talk us very briefly through those 3 key points?
Yes, so there are 3 phases, if you like. And the first one, and it has to be first, is what we call psychoeducation. And that basically means understanding their brains. And I've explained it in really simple terms in the book, what is happening in your child's brain, okay? Because anxiety comes from a good place in the brain. It's this little place called the amygdala in the brain. It's like our body's internal alarm system. It's trying to keep us safe. But for some children, it's as if that little place in the brain is oversensitive to danger. Then, after we've educated ourselves, so I talk parents all through it, the impact of the brain, the impact it has on their bodies, then it's self-regulation, because we can't take the anxiety away. We can't just remove it. But instead, I go through all these different strategies, and they're very individual. Parents can pick and choose what works for them and their child, but strategies to help them self-regulate. And then comes the facing fear and finding brave. And that bit is talking to parents about how they can gently push their children outside their comfort zone. We know they have this bravery within them, Donal. Donal, children who are anxious are brave every day. But some children, getting up in the morning and getting into school is an act of bravery. It's hard for them. So they have it within them. And really, for us, it's about really working out strategies to show them they have this bravery, and to help them baby step by baby step move beyond their comfort zone.
A few questions have come in, and this is an interesting one. Are children more anxious these days, or are we now just able to put the term of anxiety on children, whereas years ago we didn't have the label? Now, I mean, I'm thinking back to when I was in school. I always had butterflies in my stomach on a Sunday night, because after the weekend I knew I was back to school on Monday morning, and it wasn't just laziness. I always had that sort of oh Jesus, and it was there. Now maybe these days we're putting a name on it and writing books about it. Back then it was just grow up and go to school.
Get on with it. And funny, Donal, you say that. one of us gets anxious, as you say. Think about, I'm sure people, they might be doing their driving test next week. Oh my gosh, you're going to get anxious. Say a best man speech, talking in public, all these things. We all feel anxious. Anxiety is normal. It's absolutely normal. But for some of our children, it's moved to a different level. And I think you are right. I think years ago, some of our children really struggled. Maybe they dropped out of school and people just said, oh, whatever, they dropped. But actually, underneath was this anxiety. And I think today, although we have the name for it, it's really important that we're, instead of just saying, get on with it, or letting these children just fall under the radar and they don't learn in school, that we think, no, there's stuff we can do to really help them and to support them. And think about childhood, Donal. I mean, it's a time of first, and first make us anxious. Like your first swimming lesson, your first sleepover, you're a teenager, your first crush, your first kiss, these are good things, but they make every one of us anxious. So it's so normal. But really, this book is written not only for the kids who really struggle with anxiety, but for the oversensitive children, the children who are so sensitive to the world around them. It's also about resilience. Every kid can do with realizing the bravery they have within them. And we want them to be strong and capable and resilient. So really, I think the thinking behind the book is good for every child, not only the ones who are really struggling.
Yeah, again, a comment. There's an 8-year-old boy gets so anxious before school in the morning. He's crying, has stomach pain. We've spoken to the teacher. That doesn't seem to be helping. What would be your advice there?
Now, this used to be called school refusal, which a term I hate. It's school anxiety. And yes, that's exactly what it is. It's the thought of going to school has built up this level of anxiety with the child. And the goal here is you can't just force them in. You push them in, just make them go. That won't help. That does something we call flooding. The brain is flooded with anxiety. Instead, it's those baby steps. So you really need to think about regulation. What does he do when he feels this way? Normalize it. Yes, sometimes it can be scary going into school, but I know you are strong and capable. But he needs tools. So he needs the tools to self-regulate. It could be even just deep breathing. I go through all these different ideas, sensory items, things like body scans that really help them regulate when they feel that way, and then baby steps, supporting him to get in the door. But it can be done, Donal. It absolutely can be done.
Do we make a mistake by trying to find logic in anxiety? Because from my own experience, I think sometimes I get anxious and I know logically that it's not, now, and I know, there's an intellectual part of my brain is saying, logically, this is not the case. Everything is going to be fine. This will happen and that will happen and that will. There's another part of my brain going, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, and in us looking at other people's stories, we hear them speak to us about what triggers them, and we're like, "Not as grand. You'll be fine."
Yeah.
Whereas what triggers us, they might have the same reaction.
Yeah, Donal. I wouldn't consider myself a particularly anxious person, but I am terrified of heights. And sometimes when my child is struggling and I'm thinking, so say school, and I'm thinking, why would you be scared of school? You love teacher. You go, get in the door. And that's what my logical brain is telling me. And I have to remind myself of what I feel like if I'm up on a cliff face with my children going on a cliff walk, and the anxiety builds inside me. So I'd say to any parent, if you're thinking, this is ridiculous the way they're carrying on, we all have something, Donal. We all have something. And when I remind myself of that fear, and it's irrational, like I know my child is not going to fall off the cliff, but does that matter? No. Inside my brain, my amygdala, this part of the brain, in my emotional brain goes, and the fear, I feel adrenaline going through my arms. My heart starts to pound. My arms feel shaky. That's what our children are experiencing every day. For example, like that little boy who's struggling with school. He's feeling the same as I feel when I'm faced with a height. So there's nothing rational about it. And being rational and logical with the children doesn't help. We have to go to the underlying emotion. That's how we help.
And when we talk about butterflies in the stomach, that is a physical reaction started by the amygdala in the brain, as you've said.
Absolutely. That person who texted in about their child feeling those butterflies, not feeling well going to school, that he's really feeling those feelings. Those feelings are real. Like your heart is genuinely pounding. Your arms are feeling shaky. You have those butterflies in your tummy. All those physical feelings are real. And you can imagine, as an 8-year-old, that's scary. It is really scary. This is what I mean about educating. It's not only educating parents, it's educating our children. Because when you sit with that 8-year-old and you talk to them about this little fella in here, in the middle of their emotional brain, and he's trying to keep you safe. But sometimes he's just thinking, oh, school might be scary. And he sends all these responses around your body. When you actually start to really break it down and talk to them, but actually, that's less scary now that I realise it's this little fella in here, the amygdala, trying to keep me safe. Having the conversations, Donal, so important.
And as you say, communication, but not communication in a way that's judgy, and certainly not communication in a way that's telling people to get on with it.
Oh, no. Genuinely, that doesn't help. That old thing, throw them in the deep end. That actually came from throwing kids in the deep end of a pool to try and, teach it to swim. We know from, what we did back then that doesn't work. It leaves you even more fearful. It's baby steps. You know that saying, a comfort zone is a beautiful place, but, nothing ever grows there. Like for our children with anxiety, there's a real danger that they want to avoid everything that makes them anxious. They want to go back. They want to retreat often to their home, their safe space. They feel safe there going out into the world. We don't want that for our children, Donal. And pushing them too hard is only going to make them feel it's more scary. It's baby steps out of their comfort zone. And we know it works. Particularly when we are bringing down our own anxiety, like we're the port in the storm, we're that calm, collected adult with them. We talk in psychology about one good adult, and that's what they need when they're anxious. They need to know that we are calm and that we believe in them. We have confidence in their ability to cope. And that's kind of reassuring. When this part of the brain is thinking, oh, this isn't safe, if they see our face looking like, ooh, look at them, they're looking at us thinking, look at her face, I'm right, it's not safe. What we want to do is we want to be calm and confident and let them know that the world is a safe space for them.
Yeah. So basically, the main takeaway from this is don't be the second chicken.
Donal, that's exactly it. I must say as well, if people are wondering, where might I get the book? If they look at www.buythebook.ie, they can get a copy online. When I got on the bestsellers, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm an independent author, Donal, and I think it's the first time an indie author has ever reached number one on the nonfiction. And I think it's because parents are reading it and thinking, oh my gosh, it's working. Like the feedback has been great, and they're telling other people. It's word of mouth, which is lovely. And that's my goal. That this book is going to empower parents to support their children. That's what I really hope for.
Anxious Children in an Anxious World, Facing Fears and Finding Brave. Dr. Mary O'Kane, a lecturer in psychology and early childhood education, the author of said book, available on buythebook.ie. Mary, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much indeed for speaking to us this morning.
Thank you, Donal.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. That's Mary there, who is the author. And as we say, the book is called Children with Anxiety, Finding Fears, Anxious Children in an Anxious World, Finding Fears and Facing Fears and Finding Brave. Let's move on to some of your comments before we go for a break. I believe Ireland should pull out of Eurovision due to the amount of people that have lost their lives in the Gaza conflict. The Israeli Prime Minister can stop this. Another caller says the Stardust families should get compensation for the life lost. The manager was able to get compensation for damaged furniture. The families should get compensation too. Caller says, as a granny and a mother, I totally agree with Tony. What more can be done to make the world see that Israel is committing the murder of innocent civilians? Another caller says, the Blue Stack service is such a vital service to have in our community, a lifeline for so many families. Wishing you luck in the latest fundraising venture. We as a family will be signing up. Teddy, steady go. Another caller says, I'm in need of help. Is there anyone that has a help for essential shake and shingles? We'll just put that out there, certainly. If anyone can help with essential shake and shingles, and you have any advice, please send it our way for our listener. Another caller says, just listened to Wendy from the Blue Stack Foundation, such a fabulous resource for so many families throughout County Donegal. Great fundraisers planned by them with the Errigal Climb and Errigal Trek. Love the option of joining virtually, making it all so inclusive. Well done to all involved, and so say all of us. Going to take a short break. Back after these.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon Show with Blue Poppy Dental. Our state-of-the-art scanners eliminate the need for impressions for dentures, braces, crowns, implants and aligners, meaning faster turnaround times. See bluepoppydental.com for all our contact details.
The moment you win the semis becomes the journey on the way to the final. Hands clutching hurls and a bus full of messers, making bonds that will last a lifetime. Practicing for your Irish oral on the way. What did you do this weekend? Last weekend? Every weekend? And the whole team laughing because the answer is always the same. Camogie. It's the minor moments that last a lifetime. The Electric Ireland Camogie Minor Championships. This is major.
When it comes to electrical waste recycling, we're pretty good with the big items like fridges, dishwashers and TVs. But what about those mystery cables or broken mobile phones? We throw them in a drawer, along with that ancient laptop that just might come in handy someday. The good news? You can recycle anything with a plug, battery or cable for free. And it couldn't be easier. For a list of drop-off points and participating retailers, just go to mywaste.ie. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who has the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
Change is the only constant in business. So whether you're starting or growing your business, our dedicated business teams will always be here to support you every step of the way, because the best businesses never stop beginning. Search Bank of Ireland Business. Bank of Ireland. Begin. Bank of Ireland is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
TFI Local Link operates evening and weekend services throughout rural Ireland to help you stay connected 7 days a week. We know life doesn't just happen 9 to 5, so if you're commuting, shopping, visiting family, or going out in the evenings or on the weekends, let TFI Local Link take you there. Visit transportforireland.ie.
It's the 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. We're going to be speaking again about young people in our next piece, because we're joined by Avril McMonagle, who is the CEO of Mosaic Digital Solutions. Avril, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Donal.
Now, you are going to be delivering a talk to early education students at ATU in Letterkenny later today on a child's right to privacy on social media. And as soon as you mention child and social media, we are walking into a minefield.
Yes, absolutely. Delighted today to be talking to, there's 3 different ATUs coming into the presentation. We've got Sligo, we've got Galway, and obviously I'm in Letterkenny. So really trying to start this conversation about social media and how it impacts, the consent of young children. We're talking an awful lot now about consent for older children and trying to bring that into the teenage realm. And one of the things that we constantly overlook is a child's consent and right to their own image on social media, because I suppose as parents and as grandparents, we are taking responsibility. We're taking that into our hands to share their images, because obviously, and this is not about berating anybody, Donal, or about making anybody feel bad. It really is just about opening a conversation, because sometimes we just don't know enough about this stuff, and it's just about getting the conversation going to see to understand the full implications of what we're doing and what it means for children's rights to their own image and to privacy.
And this can go right back. I mean, we're all used to seeing the pictures. Now you go to a swimming pool or a leisure centre and there's inevitably going to be pictures, no mobile phones in the pool area,
yes,
taking photographs or anything like community games or anything like that. I mean, there's bans on taking photographs, yes, and all of those. But even ourselves, and you gave the example, and I thought, yeah, I never thought of that. A parent or an aunt or uncle or whatever putting up a picture of a child blowing out the candles on their birthday cake,
yes,
could potentially,
yes,
be problematic, because the child hasn't been in any way consulted or asked if that image may be used.
Yeah, I mean, typically, I mean, obviously my big interest is in early education and it's in working with early childhood settings. And excuse me, I did a bit of just quick research over Easter, where I took at random 15 early childhood services that had been posting images of the children at Easter. So it was various things like the Easter bunny coming into the early childhood setting, children showing off their Easter arts and crafts, different things like this. And across 15 settings nationally that were just picked randomly that have open public Facebook pages. So that's not locked down with any privacy. That's open to the world to see. There was 550 images of children with full facial profile. Now, what's happening there is, and even you mentioned the birthday cake photograph. That is the one that you will see an awful lot, happy birthday. But what people need to realise is the metadata that is connected with that picture includes, you're basically telling the world, the world this child's name. You're telling them their age, i.e. their date of birth, and their location. 3 very important pieces of metadata. You then match that with the already lots of data, because of data breaches, the number of social security numbers and information that's already on the dark web. You have a perfect recipe for identity fraud. And what we're starting to find now, and what research is starting to find, is that some children are hitting their maybe 18th, 19th birthday. They're applying for credit for something for the first time, could be a mobile phone, and they find that they've got a credit history, because they have been a victim of identity fraud. And that's why children's data and children's pictures and information about children, dates of birth, locations, are so valuable to perpetrators of cybercrime, because it's what we call clean data. It's data that's got if somebody looks at my data now, it's got when I bought a toaster in the 1980s somewhere on it. And, you will have, everything. I have you and I will have, a digital footprint, let's say. Children don't. And this is why it is so essential that we start talking about children's right to privacy of their own data and their own image.
Now that's interesting. That is interesting, because I would never have thought of that. I mean, to be honest, like most people, and be honest, if someone says we're going to be talking about social media and children, the first thought people are going to have is our photographs going to be used, or our image going to be used in a sexual way, or is this going to be used by paedophiles? And that's the first thought that comes to our heads. Yeah. But you're saying, that obviously, and we always have to be conscious of that danger. But that's not necessarily the primary danger when it comes to posting photographs of children online.
It's so complex, and there
is so much more.
Yeah. There's so much more. And just on that one, piece of research by the Australian Children's E-Safety Commission looked at one dark website, and it contained 23 million images of children, all that were taken from family social media. Now, obviously now with AI and all the different things that we can do, all we need is like a facial profile, all we need, so it's really about not berating parents or grandparents or early childhood settings for posting images, but if you want to share an image, we all want to share images of our children. We don't want to show off when we're proud of them, that they've achieved something. That's only natural. But what we now must realise is that the old family photo album that we used to have in our house is now exposed and open to the world, because that's the nature of where we are. So if we do choose to share images of children on social media, take them from a certain position. We would urge early childhood settings to take images of children working from above, that you can just see their heads and their hands. There's no need for their faces in these images. Stop the birthday pictures that are identifying dates of birth and names and locations, because even on a simple level, you're also talking about that being a huge challenge and a huge risk for parents who may be fighting custody battles, for parents who may have children that are at risk of abduction, and there's a few high profile cases in the media at the moment, and also even for domestic violence. All these things are revealing information that we've no need to reveal.
You yourself have been working in the context of your position in Mosaic Digital Solutions on developing an app to address some of these issues.
Yes, I brought forward an app, the Mosaic Educator app is an app that is used, and I'm glad to say, by the majority of early childhood settings in Donegal. We're extending our national reach now. We have settings all over Ireland using it, but this is an app that I brought to the market 5 years ago through my business, Mosaic Digital Solutions. And what it does is it's an encrypted communication app that early childhood services communicate the learning and development and updates of children through an encrypted app that is locked down to parents, that has passed cyber security, and that all data is deleted 1 year after a child leaves a preschool. Because at the minute what's happening is you put stuff up online and it's there forever. Even if you delete it from your profile, it's still there. It's still there forever. So this is a different way of managing child data. And then the parents then can download an app, and they need an encrypted password to get in to see their child's information, and they don't see any other children's photographs, any other children's videos. They just have access to their own child. And that will be the crux of my own business and what I'm trying to bring forward, I suppose, on the back of this kind of conversation here. And it is about raising awareness about the dangers.
And thus the importance of speaking to the early education students in the ATUs right across the ATU region, because really, I mean, the people you're speaking to today are going to be running the early education settings of tomorrow. Absolutely. And you really want that level of awareness. There was a time, and indeed there was a case in the courts, I think earlier this week, or was it late last week, of identity theft where people would use they'd get birth certs for children who had died at birth or who were deceased, and they would use those details. What you're saying now effectively is people don't even have to do that. They're actually taking information directly off Facebook settings, or and it's been gathered and then put up on the dark web. So, you know, it doesn't have to be this dark, go for the birth cert of a deceased child anymore. It's even easier than that.
Oh, it's
if
very
you do it cyberly,
easy.
yeah.
But the problem is, you know, through our own behaviours, you know, we're making it very easy. And I mean, usually we only put legislation and laws in place when something absolutely horrible and terrible has happened. So really it's about, you know, trying to get a wee bit ahead of that. You know, one of the big things that I would advise to both parents and early childhood providers is start introducing the culture of consent to our young children. So even if you're talking to a very young toddler and you want to, you know, share an image or post a photograph or even take their photograph with a camera, you know, get into the habit of saying, is it okay if I take your photograph? Because what we're doing there is we're instilling this idea of consent from a very young age, and even if the child's not old enough to understand that, it will then become a part of normal behaviour, and certainly something that needs to be happening in early childhood settings in terms of consent and permission. And is it okay if I share this? Even is it okay if I post this on your Mosaic app to share it with your mummy and daddy? Really good habits to be getting into, and these are proactive, ordinary things that we can be doing daily.
What about the situation where, and we would see it certainly, and I think you still see it, where, say, something like first day at school, first communion, etc., very often you'll open your papers, and not only will you open your papers, but it's one of the weeks they really sell well, because I mean every parent in the country is going to be queuing to buy the paper when the first communion photos or the first day in school photographs or the confirmation photographs or whatever are in the paper. Does that need to be reviewed by schools? Now it's slightly different in as much as they're not individual pictures with individual names and individual details, but
it really is the most valuable image that you can post on a child is that full facial profile, because with AI technology now, somebody can digitalise that photograph of a 4-year-old and make it look like a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old and still keeping the features, you know. So that's what I'm saying about choose the type of photographs. I mean, if you see a child in a class group of 22, 30 children, that photograph's not, like, realistically not going to be an awful lot of use to you because there's too much clutter there. But it's these high quality, really good images that we're seeing now going up on social media. The example of the ones that I looked at over Easter were all of children holding something, and it was their full profile face with the details. And often they're wearing a school uniform, which gives you their exact location.
Avril, it's a concerning and maybe something that we do need to be keeping in mind. As I say, this is something I'd never thought of. Never struck me that people could be actually using pictures online for identity theft. Thankfully, I'm of an age that, I mean, by the time I got onto Facebook, I think my youngest child was 17. So it was, we're of that age. But yeah, it is certainly food for thought. And listen, thanks very much indeed for coming in to talk to us today, and all the best with the talks with the students later on.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Avril, thank you. That's
thank you.
Avril McMonagle there, who's the CEO of Mosaic Digital Solutions, speaking to early education students at the ATU from right across the region. They're coming up from Galway and also from Sligo and other settings as well. And it's an important one and a salutary lesson. Now, it's 22 minutes to 12. Going to take a short break. Back after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Blue Poppy Dental. Our new high-powered airflow cleans take dental cleaning to a new level. Additional teeth whitening will have you smile ready for any special occasion. See bluepoppydental.com.
Introducing Super Value's new Real Rewards prices. Scan your card or app and get Kellogg's Cocoa Pops for only $2.50, was $5.39. And Coca Noodles 4-pack range for $2.50, was $3.99. Don't forget, our amazing lower prices are exclusive to Real Rewards members. So start making real savings at Super Value.
Brian Murray from Fair City here. I'm one of the 64,000 people living with dementia in Ireland. Join me on Thursday the 2nd of May to mark the 30th anniversary of Alzheimer's Tea Day and help the 30 people who are diagnosed each day with dementia in Ireland. Sign up to host a Tea Day event now at teaday.ie.
Watson Hire's massive Spring Sale Day takes place this Friday the 26th with great price reductions and big name demos. Great savings on clothing from Port West, Snickers, Blackladder and more. Also reductions on power tools, hand tools, garden equipment, paint and much more, with loads of prizes and giveaways on the day. Big names like Garden Care, Bosch, Makita, Milwaukee and Draper will be there with new products and special offers. That's all this Friday the 26th of April at Watson Hire, Lisnenan, Letterkenny. Check Watson Hire socials for more details.
Introducing Kia's brand new offer, 0% finance on new and used electric cars, including a free home charger for any EV purchased. To experience what it's like to drive an electric car, we will give you an electric car for 72 hours plus our ESB card so you can charge for free. Check out this offer at imotors.ie.
Brian Adams is back on tour in 2024. Join Highland Radio on our trip to Dublin to see the man himself at the 3 Arena on Tuesday the 21st of May 2024. Your trip includes luxury transfers, bed and breakfast at the 4-star Carlton Hotel Blanchardstown, your standing ticket to the show and a shopping trip to Dublin City Centre the following day. Find out more on the outlet at highlandradio.com or call us on 074 91 25 5,000.
It's the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. It's a Wednesday. It is just gone 22. It's just gone 20 to 12. Time for Business Matters, and we welcome into studio Mr. Chris Ashmore. Chris, good morning.
Good morning, Donal.
Chris, an important. Hang on a sec. Wait a minute before we go. I've just found it. So before we introduce Chris, just rewind.
On Highland Radio is brought to you by Local Enterprise Office Donegal. If you have an idea to start or grow your business within Donegal, contact the Local Enterprise Office team to find out more about the supports available for businesses. See localenterprise.ie/Donegal.
Welcome to Business Matters on Highland Radio with Chris Ashmore. Chris, good morning.
Deja vu.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I am such a pro. Good news, folks. Greg's back tomorrow. A busy one this week again, Chris. Lots to get through. And I think we're going to start with a jobs fair for Donegal being hosted in London.
That's right. There'll be a jobs fair on Thursday, the 16th of May at the London Irish Centre in Camden in London. It's been organised by Donegal County Council, and the aim really is to target Donegal people living in London and who are maybe looking to return home, or maybe people not necessarily from Donegal interested in relocating to the northwest of Ireland. So there'll be at least a dozen companies in attendance, several sectors: tech, engineering, construction, maritime, healthcare. These companies do have vacancies or are expanding, and it's set to take on more people. So it's a chance for people there to come and see firsthand and talk to the people involved from some of those companies. And there'll also be representatives of the County Council's Economic Development team there, and they're going to provide, advice on simple little, well, not simple, but things like everything ranging from housing to schools, even driving licenses. Because you could have been in the UK the last 20 years and you're thinking, well, I might need my car. What's the story? And things like that are important to get sorted before you come over.
And potentially now with Brexit, there's going to be different arrangements. There's going to be what pertained 10 years ago may not pertain now. Absolutely. Because of Brexit and the fact that the UK is no longer in the EU. An interesting sign of the times there. Local enterprise office in Donegal organising a trade mission to Birmingham.
That's right. The local enterprise office, along with Enterprise Europe Network. Now, this is a trade mission to what's called the Smart Manufacturing and Engineering Week in Birmingham. It's taking place on the 5th to 6th of June at the big NEC centre there. And for Donegal businesses, if you go through the local enterprise office, it's subsidised to a degree. You'll be able to attend 6 shows over 2 days. They're looking for expressions of interest. The deadline is the 26th of April. And this exhibition will have over 10,000 manufacturers, designers, industry leaders. So it's a really big event, and it could be a real eye-opener for people, and who knows what it could lead to.
A big day in Downings on Friday last.
That's right. A company, the Green Turtle Seaweed Company, they have had their new state-of-the-art facility was officially opened by the Minister for Agriculture, Forestry and the Marine, Charlie McConnell-Ogue, and they have the facility there for a 24-hour production process for processing seaweed, and some of the seaweed that they harvest there is being used in a sea meat product that's been essentially it's a hybrid meat product, and some burgers are going to have 25% less meat, and some of the burgers you could be eating could have some seaweed as part of their ingredients. Very healthy as well.
Seaweed can be very, very tasty indeed at times. Now, other news, and Tata Consultancy Services been awarded a diversity award.
Yes, they got an Investors in Diversity Silver accreditation by the Irish Centre for Diversity. So this is all down to structures that they've put in place in the workplace regarding workplace practices and culture. So good recognition for them on that. And also, just to point out, the next Start Your Own Business programme has been hosted by the local enterprise office here in Donegal. That starts on Tuesday, the 7th of May. It's a virtual programme. It's over 8 sessions, 2 evenings per week, across 4 weeks. And so anybody thinking of or at the early stages of setting up a business, this will help you to plan ahead. The cost is just €25. More details available on the local enterprise office website.
And the Donegal Women in Business Network, a number of events coming up.
Yes, they have a free coffee morning networking event this Friday. Now, they've actually done it that they're going to have 3 locations, so a great opportunity for people to pop along, meet other people. La Papa Coffee House in Letterkenny, the Ferry Glen Coffee Shop in Derrybeg, and the Central Hotel in Donegal Town between 11 and 12. Informal, just getting people together, having a chat, and connections are so important in business. Who knows what it could lead to?
Now, in just a moment, we're going to look at this week's Business Matters podcast. But before we do, we'll take a short break. Back after these.
The 9 till noon show with Blue Poppy Dental, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Do you have missing teeth or poorly fitting dentures? Call Blue Poppy today to inquire about our new implant-assisted dentures. Payment plans are available for all high-value treatments.
Some people get up early every morning. But on the morning of May 11th, we want everyone to be up for the most important sunrise of the year. Whether it's your first time or 10th time, join Pieta and Electric Ireland for this year's Darkness into Light. On May 11th, everyone's welcome. Sign up, take part, and raise much-needed funds for suicide prevention at darknessintolight.ie.
Donegal County Council invite the public to participate in the first non-statutory public consultation for 3 trees to Carndonagh Greenway. 2 public consultation events to inform the public of the project and to invite feedback will be held at the Carndonagh Public Services Centre on the 24th of April from 2 p.m. until 8 p.m. and at St Eugene's Hall, Moville on the 25th of April from 2 p.m. until 8 p.m. A dedicated project website, 3treescarndonaghreenway.ie, will be available for Monday the 22nd of April 2024.
The annual Easy Living Furniture Roadshow sale ends this Sunday. This is your last chance to save big, as absolutely everything is reduced across sofas, dining, bedroom and accessories. We've got everything you need to create the perfect living space with affordable prices and unbeatable quality. And with interest-free finance available, now really is the time to visit Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, or online at easylivingfurniture.co.uk.
FBD doesn't stand for frightening rad dentists,
Ferociously beating drums,
or feline business directors. FBD stands for support. We support business owners in Ireland with tailor-made services from personally assigned advisors. Visit your local branch to talk to your FBD insurance team. FBD Insurance. Support. It's what we do. Underwritten by FBD Insurance plc. FBD Insurance Group Limited, trading as FBD Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenny's. Support a local Donegal business with McElhenny's. From fashion to home essentials, find everything you need for any occasion. Shop McElhenny's Ballybuffet for quality you can trust.
Another dry day for most, with a mix of sunshine and cloud. A few light showers developing, isolated, but highest temperatures today 11 to 13, mildest further south in a light to moderate northerly breeze. And from what Chris was telling me as he was out walking just before coming in, it's a bit chilly out there this morning. Tonight, generally dry under broken cloud with just a few light stray showers. Lowest overnight temperatures 2 to 6, coldest where clear breaks persist. Some mist patches as well with light variable breezes. And when we look to tomorrow, I'm afraid it's going to be a bit showery in the morning with a mix of cloud and sunny spells to follow. It'll become cloudier though as the day goes on, with more showery rain developing in places. Cooler tomorrow, top temperatures 8 to 10, light to moderate northerly or variable breezes. And that 11 to 13, Chris, still a little bit chilly out there today, you were saying?
Yeah, the wind is certainly cool. Yeah. It feels it's probably a lot cooler than even the temperature is saying officially.
Yep, the wind chill is always an issue. Right, let's look forward to the Business Matters podcast, which will be available online after this programme, and of course will be broadcast after the 6 News on Sunday. An interesting guest on Business Matters this week.
Yes, my guest is Niall Speake, the founder of the Eco Basket Company. Having experienced sustainable and waste-free shopping habits when he was living in Australia, he returned to his native Sign Mills and began the process to set up his own company. He now has online the Eco Basket, so you can go online. He has a wide range of products ranging from spices to herbs, grains, toiletries, and he has ambitions to be the leading zero waste refill provider in Ireland. So if you're ordering off him, you can buy in various quantities, you can buy somewhat in bulk as well, and it'll be delivered in compostable packaging. And he's also a big fan of the shopping model where customers bring in their own containers, we'll fill them up with as much of the products. You'll be paying by weight or volume. This, you can see, it's an emerging trend everywhere, and he hasn't got a shop as such up yet, but there are plans, and he's all sorts of plans. A very ambitious guy, and in this clip he outlines more about the business and how it all began.
I suppose, yeah, the idea definitely would be a shop, but I suppose the initial idea was to set up online, and again, there was no real funds in place, and I have a bit of a knowledge on how to build websites, and I just started out watching YouTube videos on how to work a Shopify e-commerce site. Built the whole site myself, 530 products, and we're adding within the next 2 weeks another 130 products. So that's where it initially started, and because simply, again, we have to build up a bit of revenue before, and build a bit of a community before we can even, I suppose, go and look into retail. We do some craft markets, so obviously at the craft markets we have a whole retail setup. They're quite affordable, so people can come and obviously get as much as they want. With the online site, we generally have 4 set sizes of products. That's 125 grams, 250, 500 and 1 kilo. And the way it obviously is more sustainable is we use 100% compostable packaging for our products.
And that was Niall Speak. And Chris, for people who think Speak, that's an interesting surname. I've heard that surname before. They very possibly may have come across one of Niall's blood relatives.
Yes, people of a certain vintage will certainly recall his father, Jonathan Speak, former Finn Harps and Derry City legend. Had some memorable seasons, a great goal scorer, and of course managed Harps as well. When they got to, they were involved in the 1999 Cup final. He was a striker of some repute. He's still, I think, maybe number 14 in the all-time League of Ireland goal-scoring charts, and I think he bagged 29 goals in one season for Derry City, which was quite an achievement. But Niall certainly... he has developed an interesting business. You know, we were just talking about one of the things on a really practical basis. You know, somebody buys a little glass jar of parsley that has 50 grams of parsley in it, and you might do this 10 times a year. He's saying, well, if you buy it off me, I'll give you a kilo of parsley. You can put it into a nice big glass refillable jar with a seal on it. You're only doing the one bit of packaging, you're reusing. You know, it's a practical example, and he seems to be onto something.
So it's all online at the moment, but as he said, looking at developing an actual shop front, and we can expect to see that happen presumably in Sign Mills, but then again we could go next door to Strabane, or perhaps a couple of K across the border even. Yeah, and
he also has a premises in Carrick-on-Shannon, so he's straddling both sides of the border and, you know, exporting, he's UK and Irish markets, and he's also thinking of developing a vertical farm in Sign Mills. That's something for another day.
A vertical farm?
Yes.
It was interesting. I was in Killarney last week, and I'll say this very big. I'd never seen this before. They have in a building in just literally in the square in the middle of town, they have what they call the urban farm. And it's got big windows in the front. You can look in and you can see various herbs and various plants and lettuces and leaves being grown. I mean, hydrophonically, I think is the phrase.
Yes.
And in the restaurant that we ate in, I was eating Killarney Urban Farm broccoli and kale soup made with broccoli and kale from the urban farm. And as I looked out the window of the restaurant, I could see the urban farm. You know, so I could actually see the building that the stuff I was eating was grown in. So I mean, you know, that was.
In the program this week, he does mention about the possibility, and we watch with great interest, of growing pineapples using coconut shells as part of the process in Sign Mills. So watch this space.
Sign Mills pineapple farm. That really sounds interesting. Chris, great as usual. Business Matters, I say, podcast going up online now on highlandradio.com, and it will be broadcast on Sunday evening
after the 6 o'clock news, and you can contact me at businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
Chris Ashmore, thank you very much indeed. Before we go, a few more of your comments. Whoever planned the Port Road Polestar lighting, what a disaster, says a caller. Another caller says, I think, Donal, that all the traffic lights at busy times on the Polestar have actually slowed the movement of traffic. Another caller says, I look at that road and I wonder how it's going to work during the Donegal rally. Now, we got a bit of a preview of that last year because I actually got stuck on the 4-lane during the rally on the Saturday afternoon. I got it into my head that you'd be safe enough being out on the Polestar Road at about 4 o'clock because they wouldn't be back in from the stages until later. I was grievously wrong, and it took about an hour to get from the dual carriageway to Glencar. And we did have the experience of being on the road on the 4-lane, and an ambulance came through, and it came through with the Garda escort, and what the Garda were doing, they were getting motorists to go up onto the footpath, and they got the ambulance through. Now, I think there's even more work been done on it since, so I'm not sure if that will still be possible. Another caller says, in terms of this lady doesn't talk about all this sexuality education pushed onto children. They have enough of schoolwork and homework to do. Let children enjoy their child lives. Please say well done to Jason McCahill from Molly and Drew. All very happy for him. Thank you. Request for Marjorie Friel Arahira in Fannin, whose birthday is today, from all your friends in the day centre. Happy 60th birthday to a great sister-in-law, Nuala O'Hagan in Ramelton. She's one of the people that walks the Relay for Life tracks with the purple t-shirt along with yourself. We're so proud of her and love her very much. Congratulations, Nuala, on the big 60. And that's from Rosaline, from Brendan, from Danielle, from Mark and from Adam. Another caller just saying, I was listening to Wendy from the Blue Stacks Foundation. What an inspiration, such a fabulous resource for the county of Donegal. My family were blessed to have found it following the sudden death of my mum last year, leaving behind my beautiful Down syndrome sister, for whom I now care. She'd been reclusive for 7 years, didn't attend any services. COVID destroyed her altogether. This great facility brought her back to life and has given her so much confidence. My family and sister could never put into words how valuable the services Blue Stack provide are. We're looking forward to climbing Errigal with them and wish all the best to the Everest trek and love the option of joining virtually as well. That's from a very, very grateful family. I've noticed that my son and daughter's photos are on Facebook. They post every day and there are visual profiles of the children. I'm not very happy with it. I think primary schools should reduce their use of photos on socials. The group is private, but it doesn't matter. Another caller says, I've raised the issue of my children's photos being taken by the school and uploaded to Facebook for a while now. It's a private group, but all it takes is one person to pass it on. Another one, my son and daughter hate it when videos of them playing music are uploaded. My son is quite private. He doesn't like it. Children often don't have the courage to tell teachers and others not to take photographs. And that's Highland Radio News. No, it's not Highland Radio News for now. It's the 9 till noon show for now. It'll be Highland Radio News this afternoon and into this evening. But that's it from the 9 till noon show. Greg's back tomorrow. As we say, Greg is broadcasting from Genesis Aesthetics in Gweedore. The show coming live from there. Thanks to all our guests. Thanks for all who participated. Thanks very much indeed to Shannon and to Caroline for taking your calls. Caroline produced as well, of course, and as always guided me through. John Breslin is up next around the Northwest. Most importantly, thanks to you for listening. I'm Donal Kavanagh. Have a great day.
Experience stress-free wisdom tooth removal and root canal treatments at Blue Poppy Dental, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Our specialist team and advanced equipment ensure patient comfort and a positive dental experience. See bluepoppydental.com. Sponsors of today's show.
At Cooney's Home Interiors, we pride ourselves on offering you the very best in choice,